Hey, what's up, everyone? I don't think anyone's here yet. Just went live. I forgot to make a schedule thing for this, so impromptu or whatever. But yeah, we're about to go live here with Flat Earth Friday and join the crew. I'm going to play out the intro that Proud made here, so we can check that out, and then I'll be back in a minute. So, 1 second. Let's see. How do I make this full screen? There we go. Camera. All right, cool.
Then we get better telescopes. We see even further, like, oh, look, everything's.
Is this on 2x? 1 second. Okay. All right. Shout out to Proud. She made this for the intro for the show tonight.
This is the ironic part. Oh, it's called post hoc rationalization. You're like, oh, well, I can explain this with something else. No, that's what their model did. Geocentrism has been sitting here forever. It says, hey, the Earth doesn't move. It's in the center of everything. Everything moves around the Earth. So then we look out. We're like, oh, look, everything's moving around the Earth. Then we get better telescopes. We see even further. Like, oh, look, everything's still moving around the Earth. Of course it is, because the Earth's in the center. That's duh. Flat Earth Fridays on Twitter. Shout out to them. They're a bunch of legends. And I vibe with them tough. So
feel like Floyd Mayweather with this shit, man.
He's always
hours on Twitter Spaces.
Getting the claim of gravity. So we have to come up with an idea to explain this to the public without any scientific method. How about this, science? Let's put a placeholder. It's called dark matter. Now we have the matter to account for gravity. We can't see it. We can't test it. We can't measure it. We can't detect it. But it's got to be there in order for our model to exist. So why do you believe in something that is not validated by science?
Right. And then they come along with a post hoc rationalization. They say, no, I can explain it with my heliocentric model too. We'll just change it and say, well, yeah, sure, everything is going to look like we're in the center, even though we used to say the opposite. And it's because everything's accelerating, expanding, I promise. And then as time has progressed, they're like, oh, wait, if it's expanding, it must be going super fast. Oh, it's going super, super fast. Oh, it's going super luminal speeds, 4 times the speed of light at least. Oh, there must be some type of energy making everything expand that fast. It can't just do it by itself. Oh, well, we don't see any evidence of this energy and we can't find it or detect it or define it. We don't know what it is. We don't even know what it could theoretically be. Well, we'll just call it dark energy because it has to be there, because the expansion has to be there, because we have to explain the Earth looking like it's in the center. That is objectively what happened.
You know, no correlation. There's no correlation. It's made up. It's hypothetical. It's theorized, and they found that they didn't find the proportional of matter that's supposed to be directly proportionate to the gravity that they said is happening. So they're seeing all of these galaxies that are oscillating. They said it's to be gravity and these things moving at a fast rate, accelerating over an edge of the universe. Nobody knows what's beyond that, but it's infinitely expanding. And you know how fast it's expanding?
SpongeBob in the deep blue sea.
Bro, do you know how fast the universe is expanding?
Very. And the fact that
4 times,
no,
about 4 times the speed of light. So you told us that there's a speed limit, right? You brought up E equals MC squared, but yet the universe is actually moving almost 4 times as fast as the speed of light. Now, how can something that's supposed to have a speed limit supposed to be 4 times faster than that?
GG. Awesome intro, Proud. See if they're live yet.
This is the ironic part. Oh, it's called.
Yo, what up, Caleb? What up, Facing Reality? Just waiting on the boys to go live here so I can also go live. I think I might have went live a little early. Or no, wait, are they live? I don't know. We'll just watch this cool video while we wait. Oh, you know what? Let me share the stream. cool. What up, Run Boston Bear? Yo, you trying to join this Twitter hang, bro? When it comes live, bro? If you're not doing anything tonight, bro. Can I say bro again? I don't know. I'll try. I guess. Let's see. Shout out to my boy here. Thank you. Let's see. Heart and repost. Very cool. All right. We're just waiting on Levelheads to go live here. Guess while they're going live, or while we're waiting for that, we can play some of this Bennett stuff. Dude, that 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. grind. I hope you're like a forklift operator, though, and you can podcast or something at least. That's a rough grind. Let's see, what was I doing? Oh, yeah. What's it? Absolutely, bro. Clips here.
This.
Let's see. Non-heliocentric ether drag. 109. Dude, how crazy is this? When he was talking about the prediction of the wind, you know which way it should go, and then you look at, and obviously you look at something like this. 1 second. Bob wins. You hit up that. Yeah, and then you plot that on a glob. Let's see, globe. Dang, they got you shoveling the rock piles all night, dude. That's what's up, though. Yeah, that was an awesome episode, man. As soon as it started, my internet went out, and I was like freaking out. I was like, "Oh no, no! How could this be? How could this happen?" And I had to watch it on YouTube. Yeah, yeah, it was crazy. There was construction down the road, I guess, and like 10 minutes into us going live, they just knocked out the internet. It was really cool, but it came back like 2 hours into it or whatever. But yeah, but yeah, I'm gonna play this clip out. This cracked me up. Just like, because we're all told this like very specific, rigid. Oh no, the Earth or the wind carries it, but it doesn't care. Or it moves in lockstep, but it doesn't. Like it's like, okay, dude. What was the website again? I need to show these wind patterns. Can you send it? Yep. Bob wins. Done.
Okay, we're going to assume that the Earth is spinning. Okay, what are the consequences of that as far as the atmosphere? Well, the air should be dragged along at the equator at about 464 meters per second. And then as the latitude increases, the distance to the axis of rotation decreases, so you decrease down to 0. So what you would predict for a heliocentric model in which the Earth is rotating is that the maximum speed is at the Earth, and it corresponds to a rotation of 24 hours, and it decreases for different latitudes. Now, if we think of a model where we might have a solid ball inside a container with a gas like smoke, if you rotated the ball, you would see the smoke trail off in the opposite direction to the smoke. This is the fallacy, the error in assuming that the Earth rotates, because our atmospheric motion doesn't agree with what we see here. The winds at the equator aren't 464 meters per second, and they don't vary like this. Here's what the velocity profile looks like with altitude. What we have plotted is the wind speed versus the altitude. So as you increase in altitude, the wind speed increases. Okay, that makes sense, but the direction is wrong. This model predicts that the air would be dragged along in the direction of the rotation. What actually happens is the air moves in the opposite direction. At this altitude.
Dude, so the jet streams follow the sidereal rotation. Like, what do you know? Another layup for the stationary geocentric / flat Earth, right? That's crazy. Like, we're told this crazy story about, it's in lockstep, but only when it, only when we need it to be, dude. Guys, it goes in the wrong direction. Oh man, they really got us. Which, I respect it. It was a good run they had, but that shit's over now, boys. It goes in the wrong direction.
Altitude of about where airplanes fly, it changes direction, and it actually, at the highest altitudes, it's almost stationary like it is on the surface. None of this is predicted by this model, which is the mainstream model. So air drag.
Dude, how many times have you heard, the heliocentric model? Where's your flat Earth prediction? If your prediction doesn't, we throw out get the fuck out of here. The wind goes in the wrong direction, guys.
Which is affected by the motion of ether, is not predicted correctly by this model, by the mainstream model.
The ether, the propagation of light traveling faster going east to west. I think he shows it in the next slide here. Actually, let me pull up his presentation as well alongside. He's got a nice slide here to kind of showcase this. Hey, didn't you predict that the wind goes in the wrong direction on your model or whatever? That sucks. That's so crazy. All right, let's see here. East to west. Yeah, so he has eastbound here, but I think he meant eastward instead of eastbound. I'm going to make the unilateral decision to change. Actually, no, it's his presentation. I'm not going to change it. But I think he meant eastward because he did go on to explain it, as the propagation going east to west is faster. But anyway, oh, dude, it flows upstream, downstream. It flows into a hump. Like it humps out. It flows into a hump, a perfect hump. So it does all of it. Whatever the glob needs, it does, except for follow the prediction of something that moves in lockstep with it. Airplane, dude. Shout out to Dave, who's been killing airplanes, and what is it called? What's the word I'm looking for, Dave? That speed differential. But yeah, that when you're going in the wrong direction, that conservation, right? Crazy stuff that they get us to believe in. So this right here is taken from this paper. Let's see here. So this paper is kind of outlining and critiquing some experiments that were done with GPS where they found out that the speed of light is faster going east to west than it is going west to east by the same amount, by like 14 microseconds in each direction. And then he goes over how the atomic clocks are synchronized and how they're not synced to relativistic effects. They're synced to what would it be? It's basically equivalent to the Sagnac effect. So they're basically just accounting for the speed of the craft. So however fast the GPS satellite or craft or whatever it is traveling, that's what they're accounting for to correct the clocks. So very cool paper here. And there's the equation. He goes over how they're equivalent. So like this one is equivalent to this one, I think. And then it goes back to wherever the Sagnac one was. But yeah, very cool stuff. So he gives the explanation here. Where was it? Just read it. So, the Global Positioning System (GPS) or Ground Positioning System determines that after the clock U moves away from clock A at New York towards clock B in San Francisco, the displacement accumulates to an extra 14 nanoseconds approximately with respect to clock B. We know that due to Earth's rotation between New York and San Francisco, clock moves with velocity v minus epsilon and with a velocity of the rotation of v minus the clock in the trunk, blah, blah, blah. Therefore, the 13 nanoseconds is just subtracted to display it at the arrival time to give the correct synchronization. This is identical to the equation. The corrections that were made are programmed automatically into GPS. And then what he goes on to say right here. Yeah, so experimentally, the equivalent experiment has been done carrying a clock from Washington to Tokyo to Subaru and others in 1976. It is then an experimental fact that two clocks are naturally synchronized at the same value as a result of the discordant Einsteinian synchronization methods above. There's another well-known way to synchronize the clocks stationed at A and B. It is done by sending radio signals simultaneously east and west between certain cities. Then again, observed simultaneous transmission of radio signals between New York and San Francisco does not give directly the same correct clock display time in both cities. It's different by about 14 nanoseconds, and that must be subtracted from the clock. So the way that they're trying to extrapolate this is that it's an Earth rotation situation. But through other interferometry experiments, like that's not true, or it's shown not to be true, because it wouldn't produce that effect in the way that they're trying to attribute it. So, very cool. So it goes faster. So all the interferometry experiments. So when they have the orthogonal, like the right angle ones lined up. So imagine that lined up, and then the arm that's going east west is the arm that has the speed fluctuation in it. That's what they measure. All right. Tangential velocity. Thank you, Dave. Let's see here. All right. Let's see if they're live yet. I don't know what's happening. Oh. There we go.
Geopolitically, yeah, we in the field. That's for Israel. Wonder, is it real?
Retweet the space if you ready to get it popping.
Yeah, turn that down a second while they're introing. And how do I tweet? How do you retweet the space? Copy message.
At your favorite bar.
There you go.
I'm flat smacking them, straight packing them with facts. Got the clues and maps to cut through like an axe. Axe murderer, next NASA astronauts astronomically while simultaneously maintaining rhythm and harmony. The Illuminati is definitely on.
Nice.
But they can't do no harm to me. It's a bit like Animal Farm. See,
They can't do no harm to me.
Secret society maintains private.
Dude, shout out to Dave.
For your eyes to see, except for their complete lack of honesty. Honestly, I'm sick of this.
Always has the
Security ain't safe with me. Stop them alive.
always has the clips, dude. Sub to your boy Dave. All these conversations that go down in Geos where the globe just gets danced on for hours. Your boy's got clips of it all. Really nice clips. Best excerpts from Alan on Flat Earth Friday. Oh, Dave, did you make a little montage, bro? What's up? What do we got going on over here?
And if you don't know all the ways that
The dude's got that montage. What do we got going on over here, Dave? Why is there no audio, bro? Oh, because I muted fucking... One second. So did they have geometry in the
We tell the truth over here.
What is the meaning of life?
everyday struggles with making decisions.
I muted it and then I couldn't figure out why I couldn't hear it. So, you know, GG.
Can't sleep at night, and we could win if we took all the people divided and joined up the forces and fight. Yeah, hey, and that is the government's fear that people gon' learn we the same, and they've been
Be right
trying
back.
to make us think otherwise all from the day that we're given a name. Stay in our lanes, they put all this shit in our brains, they're making our chemistry change. From all the food that we eat to the shit on the TV and everything else in your day. The FBI, the CIA, they gonna keep turning us into slaves unless we can.
We see y'all.
The truth is the government don't really care if we're safe. I swear to God, or to whoever you pray, that this is the truth in your face. And if you ignore what I say, then you're gonna be on their strings till they taxing your kids for your grave. You can tell the truth, but ain't nobody wanna hear it. Matter of fact, you tell the average Joe we gonna fear it. Truth is getting ugly, so you praying to the spirits and they use it to control you. The shit is not a conspiracy. I mean,
Bars.
all of my lyrics dear to me. I could be a leader if we taking down a tyranny. Why you need a top floor? People sleeping in the streets. We can make them pay for all of them fucking evil deeds. I'm everlasting, spitting the slickest of shit if you ask me. And if they come from my life, then you know that I'm right, and my legacy gonna live past me. Not that
Tell
I
them bring it.
but if you can't see the truth standing here right up in front of you, maybe
He right
you
here.
too. Just never wake up and then look what the country is coming to.
That's awesome. Hey, why did it open that zoomed in like that? That's crazy. All right. Dude. Said geocentric. Oh, that's my new favorite intro. That's actually that's actually my intro now. Oh man.
We are not astrophysicists. However, we do enjoy the sciences. We do not run from any smoke, and we are here. If you have any ad homs to contribute, please grab a mic and say it with your chest. I will advise you guys, I do not mind being interrupted. However, I will not stand for interruptions when my host is speaking. Thank you for tuning in. This is Flat Earth Friday, episode 73.
Y'all heard my shooter. We not tolerating no bullshit, but we here to have fun. What up, level heads?
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Miss y'all, man. What's poppin'? Flat Earth Fridays, episode 73. We got a lot to talk about, man. Good to see y'all. You know, we always got questions. We just looking for some answers. You know, a silly flirts. We don't read nothing. We know we just trying to find the truth. But then when we start reading, it become a problem. So is the solar system real? Let's talk about it. Shout out to the gang. I see all the level heads in here. We got New Sake in the building. My man Facing Reality. Alan, what up, my guy? Let me send my man co-host real quick.
Yo, what's going
up,
on,
bro?
What up?
Good to see you, man. Another Flat Earth Fridays. We here with it every single week. Y'all know how we get down. And I see some of the gang down there and the listeners. Shout out to Bill and Ted. I see my guys. Death in the building. I know Rufus around here somewhere. Shout out to the gang. Zetetic in here. Eric, TM. My man Caleb. What up, bro? Hey, man, we see what they doing to you on TikTok, man. You know, Flat Earth Fridays, we here with it. Elon, they be playing with us too over here. We don't got our purple pill to, you know, share comments and tweets with each other. So we got the space pinned up top, but we still rocking every single week, bro. Anytime we trying to get off that smoke, y'all know where to come to. Twitter Spaces Flat Earth Fridays. Y'all know what it is. Appreciate my boy for pulling up. Ride 79 in here. Got Canadian in the building. Moody, what up, girl? We got Non-Rev in the building. My man Zane in here. Cuz, what up, my guy? Level Liquid. Pop Boys. Hey, bro. Where Pop's at? We been waiting for you to grab a mic, bro. Shout out to my man Phantom. Level Heads in the building. Who else in here? We got Karen in the building. We got Ali in here. We got Timbo. We got KG pulling up. Sunny D, Pure Blood. Ayo in the building. Conspiracy Smasher. What? Say you swear. You pulling up. We got some glow. What? We got the ball heads in the building. Conspiracy Smasher do everything but smash conspiracy. Shout out to my guy. Hear that. We got Chris in here. What up, Chris? We got World's Best. I don't like that logo, but we're going to get that updated. Don't worry. A few more episodes. You're done crossover. We got you. Shout out to Keith. Keith in the building. Rubio in here. The Typo in the building. IK in the building. Jay Spaces in here. Who else? Rich is in the building. My brother's keeper. We got Hanko in here. We got Bayou in here. We got Concave. We got Cellular Concave Earthers in here, bro. What? All different type of perspectives. It's crazy. Surfing Bit is in here. Sam's in here. Anti-censorship is in here. Mikey's in the building. Jacqueline. We got Keith in here. We got Julian in the building. We got Gypsy Life sliding through. Chinny. Shout out to Chinny, man. You a wild boy, bro. CD in the building. Ish in the building. We got Chicho in here. Rogue, M, and Alf. And whoever else is down there.
Flat Apocalypse. I see J Space in here showing love. Rogue Blue. What's up, Rogue Blue? Ominous. M. Got a full house tonight, man.
Hell yeah. Just what we wanted to. And if you see any of them active Globetters that been in y'all mentions all week, tweet at them, let them know we here. They know we here already. I mean, come on, it's episode 73. Like, ain't no way you don't know about Flat Earth Fridays at this point. So if they not here, there's a reason why they not here. So just keep that in mind. For all of them that been spamming y'all mentions all week and they not here grabbing the mic, keep that in mind. Get your screenshots ready. All the invites that y'all finna send them and they gonna ignore. We don't want to talk to you on Fridays. Monday through Sunday, all is like, yeah, we talk to you, but on Fridays, nah, we don't want to talk to you guys on Fridays. Not
They
with
thumbs
Mike.
take the Friday off. You know they thumbs gotta take the Friday off. Come on now.
Well, when you're living that gritter lifestyle, right? You work that 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. Got to have that weekend time for yourself.
Bro, they be putting in overtime. They don't like mics though. Keyboards they cool with. Mics is like anti-gravity to them.
You gotta be paid heavily to believe in that nonsense. So yeah, it makes sense.
I make sure to invite every single one of them. They're always so engaging, but once you invite them to a space where their voice is, going to be out there for other people to hear, they tend to have other plans all the time. It's like clockwork, flat Earth clockwork. It's a consistency.
Funny how that works. All of a
To
sudden.
be fair, I don't think NASA figured out how to implement their bot system to have a voice and audio yet. So the bots do get that pass. The bots haven't quite adapted to space technology frequency. They can't chat GPT, their voice.
They actually have to think for themselves in real time.
Hopefully, Elon updates Neuralink with a better feature for that.
You gotta understand, they first gotta bend time before they can think.
With or without a force. Absolute frame of reference or not.
Let them dream. Let them sleep tonight.
Straight lines or curves. Head ass. Hey, it's been a lot of like interesting things going on for the past week. I don't know if y'all been keeping up with what's going on in the truth community. A lot of great debates, a lot of dope conversations. Definitely been tapping in with Alan, my guy, SpaceAudits. If y'all don't know, he got a lot of great information over there on his YouTube. They do a lot of breakdowns over there. Shout out my guy. Alan, grab co-host if you're there.
Yeah, shout out to Alan. Found him recently. Really good content, good voice, and an amazing laugh. So let's go.
Hell yeah. We like to have fun. We like to learn too. We're gonna have fun on a Friday night. I could be anywhere on this plane. But you here tapped into the ether with the level heads, man. We gotta give y'all some sauce.
Hey, did my PFP change yet?
Yes, it did.
Let's fucking go.
That must be the look that everyone looks when they find the curvature.
Hope you got your mainframe update.
That's
so new sacred.
That's Socrates from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Let's go.
You're sacred, we're new sacred,
Yeah, heard. Hey, y'all go tap into the phone booth pod. The funniest guys, man, but they really be dropping some knowledge over there. Dope interviews. A couple of level heads had to go over there and slide to the phone booth pod. Don't know how they're bending and warping all that space-time curvature to fit all of us cyborgs in there at once like that. But man, that shit was incredible. So if you haven't seen it, tap in with my guys. Board Shorts, hilarious. Bill, Ted, Rufus, and Def go crazy. Shout out to the level heads. And man, they've been hitting y'all with some community notes, bro. That shit is crazy. That shit is annoying. It's like they just looking for, that's the only thing they know how to do. This might as well be called communityxnotes.com type shit. Like, what the hell? People can't have no free thoughts anymore.
You seen what Dom Lucre's been doing? He got demonetized, so now he's posting the opposite of the truth so that he automatically gets community noted. It's actually pretty genius troll.
That is genius. I was saying that. I was like, what if you have to frame your post in a specific way now? Just in order to get your own perspective off these days. This is wild. It's like Elon said, hey, you know what? I need to make more bread. We need to create more income, more profit. We're going to give you guys a voice because you got getting a lot of attention. Let me go ahead and put you over here on X. We're going to go ahead and, pay for that, get all the engagement. No, never mind. We're going to take that money away, but appreciate the engagement because we're still generating income off you guys. Like, what? I thought flat earthers was grifting. Chill off us, Elon. You ain't even give us a purple pill.
Well, we're actually grifting. We're an NFT project too. So
Can't put flat earth and NFTs in the same sentence, bro.
Oh, we did.
Instant globe earth glitch.
When you do it under the guise of a game and entertainment, people are more or less averse to it. So it's a great way of waking people up that otherwise wouldn't be paying attention to this stuff. It's pretty cool.
That's what I love about memes. Memes are freaking epic lately. It's like the best inventions in sliced bread.
I love TikTok videos. The way that people take the memes and compile them into mini stories. You get 40 or 50 memes into a video and a 30-second long video, and boom, it's great. It's concise, gets to the point, and if you have the outer space song about not needing gravity, that's always a plus too, because that's in every single fucking one of them.
Yeah, the memes have been on fire lately. I just posted a meme up. If I change the Jumbotron thing, does it change for everyone or just me, bro?
Yeah, it does change for everybody for the title of the space, if that's what you mean.
Oh, word.
But you
Okay.
can share anything to the space.
Okay, cool. So everyone just they can all see the. You mean to tell me Newton's mathematical description of the planetary motion via mass attracting mass is purely kinematic and based on proportionality between assumed constants and the periodicity between events? Always has been. Meme? You see that? Hello?
Yeah, I'm reading it right now. This is crazy.
Yeah, dude. Dude, did you catch that at the beginning of that thing? That episode of In the
Which
Field?
one?
With the Bennett's presentation when he went over the different or how Newton's equations reduce back to Kepler's equations, and it's literally just kinematic when they say that they're doing a mass attracting mass situation because they have their two constants already and they have their observed periodicity. They just it just works itself out proportionally every time, and it scales invariantly for whatever observation they needed to individually. So it's really cool that they slid that one under the radar right now. We're wise to that now. So what's up? What are you guys doing?
Was that the interview that you guys did with, what was his name? PhD?
Yes.
Yeah, Robert Bennett.
Bennett. Yo, shout out to you for setting that up.
Dude,
Hey,
that was
fire.
Dude, it took some legwork to get it done, and it took a lot of waiting because I was super amped up for it. I was like, dude, we need to do it now. We need to do it now. But Witsit was busy with stuff, and I was like, nah, let's just let it marinate. It took a month of marinating on that and letting it unfold. But it worked out because he actually added a bunch of additional stuff, and it worked out so good, man. Even my internet disconnecting worked out because he only had a 3-hour time limit, and if we had talked in between slides, we wouldn't even have finished the first one. So, yeah, it was amazing, man.
bro, I didn't even know that you guys were gonna come that prepared. Obviously I should never underestimate a level head, right? But it's I didn't know that he had a whole presentation. I'm gonna walk you guys through the historical events and how these things are being misinterpreted. Bro, this is the most important part of this because he is have the credential in the sciences. He has his PhD, and he talks about the way he is perceiving some of these things that are being pushed out to the masses as, I guess, I would call propaganda. And he's going through the tests, he's going through experiments, he's going through data, and it's so refreshing to hear somebody from the scientific community, although we might not agree on everything, being able to find some common ground within some of the holes, I guess we would say, in heliocentrism, and some of the things that just absolutely just don't work out. It's just okay, yeah, I'm going to acknowledge that this is equally viable, or this over here that they're saying is true isn't actually substantiated. Now we could develop our own ideas based off of this information. So it was so refreshing to hear that coming from someone within the scientific community, man.
How often do you see somebody with his credentials that is actually intellectually honest? That is really rare. I was literally flabbergasted watching that episode. I was, damn, this guy's is based. Couldn't any all Globus be like this?
It takes a lot of you just have to, well, first of all, you have to be retired as a Glober to have that level of honesty, dude. So, but nah, I'm sure he
I
was
was gonna mention that too. I'm like, he got to be like kind of, just chilling at this point.
but
Ain't no way he
I'm
talking this.
sure though that while he was employed, I'm sure he was ruffling feathers too. But I know when you get retired, like you're giving a fuck, like threshold goes way down or whatever, so you just start saying stuff. So hopefully Wang retires soon and we can get him on board too, because apparently he got pressured into not falsifying Einstein completely, even though he kind of already did, but didn't really want to push the envelope.
And bro, that one back and forth, that one dialogue, that one conversation is gonna provide like so much information for people to like digest, especially when we start breaking down the different parts of the conversation that they had. Because obviously, like even when I was like sitting through it, I'm like taking notes. I'm like sitting there like, wow, like I can't believe that there's so much evidence against this or for this different ideology, this perspective. Like we really gonna have to drop this for the audience so they can actually see like exactly what they're talking about in physics and get the full perspective, not just the fast food microwave version of whatever they're trying to establish as, oh, we done figured it out already, don't worry about it. It's like, nah, there's a whole different way to look at these type of things, and we need to consider that, especially like if this is determining all of science and all of physics and the direction that we're going forward with in the future. So like it's just so refreshing, man.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was great, man. It was awesome to hear it and to just like hear it all laid out so bluntly. None of this like, oh no, this is the way it has to be. He was like, this is what they say. This is how it could be. This is how I think it works. You know what I mean? Like these are just as equally viable mathematically. And then when it gets into the dynamics of it, it's like that's where it really starts to fall apart for heliocentrism, because everything starts from the geocentric perspective anyway. So it's like GG. Yeah, so I'm about to share this thing real quick. Something that like really blew my mind was his analysis of Aries' success, which we're rebranding, by the way. Like, or I'm rebranding it, so no longer is it Aries' failure. My dude was a successful man, very accomplished astronomer, and I'm not gonna call his experiment a failure just because he failed to prove the globe. That is Aries' success. So some notes on Aries' success that I thought was interesting that I'm should be sharing now with the. Oops, that's the wrong one. Hold on, let me make sure I did this right. Share to space. Give it a second to propagate through the ether. And I'm sure it'll get there eventually. But anyway, what they say in Mickelson Morley, there's a little side note about Aries' failure in like the first little excerpt that I'll read here now, where he talks. Where he talks about Aries' failure a little bit. So he says, for if the tangent of the angle of the aberration is to the ratio of the velocity of Earth to the velocity of light, then it seems that the latter velocity in the water is 3/4 its velocity in a vacuum, and thus the aberration observed in the water with the telescope should be 4/3 its true value. And then he has a little asterisk, so you can like read a little more down at the bottom. And then the excerpt down at the bottom says, it may be noticed that most writers admit the sufficiency of the explanation according to the emission theory of light, while in fact the difficulty is even greater according to the eudalitary theory. For the emission theory, the velocity must be greater than the water in the telescope, and therefore the angle of the aberration must be less in order to reduce its true value. We must make when he says we, he's talking about the people that just adopted the that light is a wave, the eudalitary or undulatory theory of light. This is where they're going into to it being a wave and not like a corpuscular particle. So We thus make the absurd hypothesis that the motion of the water in the telescope carries the ray of light in the opposite direction. So if the Earth were moving, it would like the correction angle, like it doesn't match it up at all, dude. Like there's just a little nugget just that's been sitting there the whole time in the first page of Michelson Morley 1887's paper. Very cool. Because we're always told that Airy failed the ether or whatever. He failed to prove that the ether existed. Nah, dude, he just failed the heliocentrism, but he succeeded in proving an ether in a stationary Earth. So thanks, Airy. Shout out to your boy. Was the Royal Astronomer Royal for like 47 years. Good guy.
That's a fact. And it's interesting how they always like to misinterpret that data, right? So just like this says, like, hold on, let me go pull this up real quick.
Yeah, I'll post some slide. Let me see if that thing posted yet. There it is. It came through the ether, so you guys can take a look at that real quick, and I'll pull up the Aries failure slide that he pulled up, which was a great little synopsis.
Right. So let me try to break that down real quick in some layman's terms. And Alan, just correct me if I get anything, if I misinterpret anything, or if I misstep on any of the articulation. But basically, they were trying to track light through a telescope. And depending on whether the sky was moving or the earth was moving, um, without water, it would hard to tell which frame of reference was actually in place, it seemed like. So they had to fill the telescope with water. And once they did that, if the earth was moving, they should get a specific result. If the sky was moving, they should get a specific result. And depending on which result they had, they would have to either tip the telescope forward in order to account for that light differential when the light actually filled the telescope. And if they didn't have to correct for it, it seemed like that would align with a stationary plane. Did I kind of say that in the correct format, Alan?
Yeah, so if the Earth had a velocity, they would have had to tilt it to account for that additional vector, and they didn't have to. Like the correction angle was so minuscule. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. But yeah, it was like fractions of what they had expected. So they just kind of spun the narrative that it was about a falsification of Clunker Fields or whatever that guy's name is. It was a falsification of his stationary ether theory, but cool story, man. As they say.
And I got a few quotes that I want to tweet out in a little bit too, because we want to get down. We want to get down to like, the actual conversation that they're having, like at these higher levels, of science. There's a lot of physicists in the past, that had acknowledged that geocentrism was a viable option, and that was the first order of measurement, the first frame of reference. And every single time they go ahead and assume a moving Earth or Earth in motion, then all these corrections and these other calculations have to take place. And that'd be the problem. And it's funny because you talk to a globe earther and they say, well, if you figured out that the Earth is stationary, then just provide all the calculations of how you would make it work. And it's like, bro, if you actually knew some of the technology that you use, it starts out that way. Like this is the assumption that this is the frame of reference that is stationary and things are moving about us. And you can describe this with the math. And that has to be acknowledged if you subscribe to the current science at all. Relativity says that. So we're going to get into it. Y'all go check out my pin tweet. Also got some features for Alan's link to some of his videos. Him wishing, shout out to Shane. Oh yeah, shout out to Shane, by the way. Shane St. Pierre. Hopefully we get to talk to him soon. He was going through some stuff, but I want to make sure that the level heads go ahead and show him some love. Shout out to him. He's doing dope streams on YouTube and in Discord. That's my man, ADL. My guy.
Shout out to your
facing
boy.
And one more thing, let me just say this real quick before I go and bring up some content. We get into this discussion. We do got a poll running right now, so y'all go ahead and chime in. I think I threw it up there. Is it like the third or fourth tweet from the right?
I threw up both. The poll from last week was about the sun and if people believe it's local, and the new poll is about the cosmology that people subscribe to.
Okay, Prob, take us through the last week's poll. Is that done? Is that over with?
16 minutes left. So last week I asked, is the sun local? Your options were it has to be scientifically impossible, or I never thought about it. And ironically, I never thought about it got 7%. You know, we talk about all this, guys, and we all acknowledge that we care about this conversation. We're passionate about this conversation, but the average Joe, the average everyday person, doesn't necessarily think twice about this. And I feel like we count those people out a lot during this conversation. I think it's more people who don't care than it is globe or flat. So when we're doing these polls, we're taking this into account. Like, definitely remember, some people don't think about it, and there's no option for those who don't think twice about it. There's nothing wrong with that, you know, sometimes. But yeah, like a lot of people don't think twice about what they were told. So I think that's a viable option for when we're making polls like this. But it has to be for the sun is local is definitely winning. So y'all check those out.
And then we got a new poll this week. What is a new poll about this week, Prob?
Well, relative to the conversation, we're discussing, you know, geocentrism, heliocentrism, and what was more viable, or honestly, what you guys would subscribe to if heliocentrism wasn't the option. And we watched, what was it? We watched The Principle a while back, and they were basically talking about the neotectonic model and how it pretty much worked up until a certain point. So it's just interesting how they interchange some of these models out and how we were under the belief system of some of these models up until a certain point in history. So yeah, we're gonna get into some of that today. You guys can vote on it now, or you guys can listen through some of it and then come back and vote. This is 7-day poll.
Dude, The Principle is a great documentary. And if you guys haven't heard of the book, the church, or what is it? Galileo was right and the church was wrong, something like that. I'll have a link for it on Twitter here in a minute. It's a really good book. It's a geocentric book. So like basically, you know how we're told like all these observations in the sky are like mutually exclusive to heliocentrism or something, or like we're kind of like led to believe that. But if you map everything to the sun's ecliptic, like it's literally the same thing. You would know the difference from where we're going. So like we could be stationary, everything moves around the sun, which moves around us, or you could do other models. Like it's just as viable. It's kind of cool in that regard because you can just whatever flavor you want. But if you try and it's when you try to attribute physicality to the mathematics that you're using to predict the cycles and plot them out is where you're going to start to lose your marbles, right?
Nah, marbles are too spherical, bro.
I have some questions. I'm gonna write them down. But my main thing was some of the failed predictions that some of these models make. I wanted to get into that and the failed predictions that they're supposed to quote unquote be making as a model that we're supposed to abide by. So I can't wait to jump into that. I think we're loading up some content right now for you guys.
Yeah, because I mean, there's so many different ways to like attack this conversation of why geocentrism is a could be and is a viable option, right? Obviously, Alan was just talking about it earlier, like the kinematics. It just equates, right? There's an equivalence there, so we can describe it. These motions, using formulas, but it's much more deeper than that, right? It's about the lack of motion that we're supposedly supposed to be able to detect. There's a cosmic energy background. We can get into that a little bit later. It's so many different ways to kind of understand why it was adopted as the initial framework before Einstein came through. And there's so many different conversations that's being had around this topic with those that are looking for the truth. But this totally destroys, everything moving around the sun. And that's a problem. Because if we're not moving around the sun, then everything else falls apart, right? We always talk about dismantling the framework when something doesn't work, when it doesn't fit. You can't just make things up. And we kind of talk about it all the time. Maybe we'll get into it a little bit later. If we don't have, this relativistic view of everything moving around the sun, expanding space, accelerating 4 times, probably over 4 times faster than the speed of light, with dark energy and dark matter as placeholders to make this whole functionality work. Geocentrism don't need that. There is no expanding space. There is no acceleration of expanding space. And the reason why they came into that idea, we kind of have to shout out to Hubble. But what my main question has been for like the past week, which is kind of the reason why I wanted to delve into this topic was, what gave Hubble the right to make the decision to choose between which framework is going to be used moving forward through science, right? So we talked about how when he was observing these luminaries, how they had different brightnesses, was able to detect the oscillations. And at first it was an assumption that, there was a fixed space and then these different luminaries in the sky were moving away from us. Those were the things that were in motion. So I was like, okay, well, we can calculate this. We can calculate the velocity based off of the oscillation with the red shifts and all these different type of things. And then we should be able to reverse engineer that formula and find out the origin. Now, this is also an interesting thing that I had to like sit down with for a couple weeks to kind of like really wrap my mind around, like, what heliocentrism actually saying. Even going back to like the Big Bang, they're saying that there was a point that everything exploded from. But the interesting part about it is there is no center to the universe. So really think about that. There's a point that everything exploded from, but there is supposedly no center. There's supposed to be no preferred direction in space, right? This goes back to like the postulates. Alan, remind me of the postulates. One of them was that all frame of references are equal, or physics are supposed to apply to all frame of references. And I believe that light is supposed to travel at the same rate in all directions or something like that.
Yeah, so the first postulate is that all inertial frames are equally valid, and the second postulate is that the speed of light is the same in a vacuum for regardless of the motion of the observer or source. In other words, the speed of light is the same, as long as Newton's equations hold true. But he left a lot of ambiguity in what he defined as a reference frame and an inertial reference frame and all of that. So like that's where we get into the abstract kinematic situation where none of these equations actually have physical meaning, but they have such leadway with the mathematical construct that they can conform it to fit any observation and then call it a relativistic prediction due to so-called relativistic effects, because they had to make relativistic corrections to the coordinate system to get it to fit the observation. But science, dog, you know what I'm saying? So that's what's up.
Just make it work.
Yeah, just get it in there, make it fit. Yeah, transform it out. That's all. That's all they do, or to verify it. Because
how can we do science without pre-assumptions? That's not fair.
What?
I said, how could we do science without pre-assumptions? That's not fair.
We're not
talking.
talking.
At least give us some pre-assumptions, then at least we already know the outcome before we even started. Works perfectly fine.
The classic. But yeah, so like once you get people to, because this is what they do, right? You go through a training pipeline in school, for college when you get your advanced degrees and stuff, and they teach you all this stuff, and they teach you that these corrections, that this framework, these transformations are how the world works. And you're like, okay, cool. And then you do the math and you're like, okay, it fits. We did it. And like, you don't realize that like the speed of light's changing and you're just correcting it and like pretending that, and like, using ambiguous definitions of inertial frames so that you can, make your corrections and like morally justify it, and not realize the contradiction. So like it gets crazy, man. It's been a wild ride going down this road, because you know how it's like, wouldn't all the physicists be in on it? Well, nah, man, they're all taught how to do this advanced math. They're told that these corrections are the corrections that they have to get. If you want to publish a paper and get your peer review on and get your government grant money, guess what? You're using Lorentz transformations, dog, and you're adhering to Lorentz symmetry. Otherwise, you ain't getting that government money, and we all want the government money, so we're all Lorentz transforming. And that's just kind of the way it's been, man. That's the only reason that this is still alive. It's so untenable. It's insane. Guys, it's so retarded. I figured it out. I dropped out. I have a GED. I can't do any of the crazy math, and I figured out it's all lies. Like, it's super easy. It just requires time and no emotional attachment to it. So, you know, once you take a look under the hood and you see what they're doing, like, no, not everyone's in on it. They've just adopted a belief system. Like, is a priest in on, his belief in which interpretation of God he speaks to? Like, no, he was told that that's his thing and that's his book, and inside that book there's the truth, and he's out telling people, his interpretation of that. It's the same thing. They've disguised it as like science to use it as a shield so that we can't criticize it, so that they act like it's all established and unquestionable. That's how you know something's super untenable and retarded, because if you start questioning it, everyone freaks out and says that you think you're smarter than Einstein, and all this stuff. And, it's like, okay, dude, that's not what I'm saying. But like, let's look at the historicity of the chain of events and see what Einstein said. And then, go from there. Like, let's just start from that. And it's like, they don't even want to do that, man.
Yeah, bro.
Go ahead, Mac. And we did have a lot of those type of interactions. We'll get into it in a little bit, but a lot of people don't like when we start challenging their ideology. I wonder why. But go ahead, Mac. What's up, bro?
Bro, I've been fighting with these people all fucking day, and their claim is, if you want to write it down real quick, if you take a cube, it's 1 by 1 by 1 equals 1 ounce, and then you take another cube that's 2 by 2 by 2 equals 8 ounce. But somehow they claim that they have the same density, and it just really confuses me, and I'm not quite sure what they're trying to say. I know you can have two different size objects with the same density, and the weight will be the same, but as soon as you start adding mass and volume, the density is going to change and tip the scales. And I don't know how to explain it any more clearer than that. Instead of making videos, dude, I'm going to have to start making videos to show these people.
Wait, you should say that again. I don't think I heard what you said.
Okay, their claim is you're on a scale, and you have a 1 by 1 by 1 cube that equals 1 ounce, and then you take another cube, and it's 2 by 2 by 2 that equals 8 ounce, but they somehow still have the same density.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense to you, or I don't understand what I'm missing?
You said that the
Yeah.
weight is 8 times?
I mean, what they're saying is correct. So if you have 1 liter of water and then 8 liters of water, the density of water still stays the same. The weight changes, but the density of the matter is still the same.
So you don't have more water in...
You do have more water and more volume, but the density of the medium or whatever it is that you're, if it's iron, gold, water, doesn't matter. The density of that product stays the same, no matter if you increase it or decrease the volume or weight that is equivalent to. The density of the object stays the same, the relative density.
But if you condense more atoms in this cube, it would make it more dense, tipping the scales.
Right, but if you change the mass and the volume of the cube proportionally to where the density stays the same, then the density stays the same. Like that's
Right.
kind of what that means.
I just
Hold on. Is this David up here? Oh shit,
Yeah, what's
David
up, Secret?
Terry. What up, bro?
How goes
Long
it?
time no see.
Yeah, it's been a while. What's up? I haven't seen you all week, bro.
Yeah, man. You know, you can't be tapped into that space-time curvature too much. We know you be watching my tweets a lot. So, man, you up here. The Coward has brought you up in episode 73. Tell us about what's been going on since the last time we heard from you.
I don't know. You tell me. Seems like you guys got a lot of questions.
Okay, so this is for all you don't, for everyone who don't know. I met David on here probably back in like the episode 50s. And y'all know how we get down, bro. Like Elon don't be liking that we be stepping on his $1 billion industry. So, you know, he be messing with us all the time. We always get rugs, different things like that. We always lose connection. So at the time when Terry grabbed the mic, I think he got dropped out. We had a lot of people dropping out. That space was like super glitchy. As a matter of fact, it was right after we was hosting the space, I think, with Nicola. And Proud got this wild conspiracy because we was at Eli. He was like, nah, we had to shake up Flat Earth Fridays on your ass. I'm like, damn, Eli, chill. We just wanted the conversation. But anyway, so we was super glitchy in that space, right? So then we ended up bringing Terry back up. And then I had noticed like a wild ass tweet from Terry, like, you know, calling us room temperature IQ, scared to have a debate conversation. We don't want to talk about gravity, even though we've been here for 50 something weeks. So I'm asking this man, I'm like, bro, like, what's going on with this whole tweet right here? Like, you up here right now for the second time. We even brought you back up. So from what I remember, Terry was like, hey, I thought you guys kicked me. So, like, you know, I kind of had to get up on, like, had to turn up on you flat earthers, you know? It's globe earth or die over here, bald head gang. I'm like, okay, Terry, I appreciate that energy, you know? I feel that. But we ain't really running from no smoke, bro. Like, we talk to a lot of people with credentials, a lot of them on a weekly basis. We sharing the mic with anybody that want to come talk to us. That's the whole point of the space. So at that point, I think, from what I remember, Terry realized that he had made a mistake, saying like, oh, okay, they ain't really remove me and shit. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that tweet down. Didn't ask him to do it. So I said, I appreciate that, bro. You know, because we just want to kick it. We just want to chill, get some different perspectives, have a little bit of a conversation on a Friday night, chilling over here. But all of a sudden, things went left again. Started piping up in my mention, calling us cowards. We took his mic, saying that we're dumb, we're idiots. I'm like, damn, Terry, what happened? I thought we was cool. You came up here for a second, third time, and now you trying to spaz in my mentions?
Well, because you decided to edit a little tiny clip out of me apologizing for my tweet, and then said, "Oh, Terry's getting emotional." Oh, and it's like, okay, dude, what's your fucking problem, bro? Like, why would you do that?
I mean, didn't you?
Order of events.
Yeah, order of events, Terry. Keep the chronological order intact.
Yeah, that
Right.
is what happened. So we were cool for a while, and then I don't even remember how we came back into contact, but I just remember you pulled up this clip out of your Flurf catalog there, and you selectively edited this 30-second snippet of me saying, "Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry. I'll take down the tweet."
For
And
what?
then
For being
below it, you
emotional,
decided
right?
to say, "Oh, Terry tears. Oh, hashtag Terry tears. Oh, wow." It's like, okay, so you're clearly, yeah, totally fine. Yeah.
So Terry, so what happened? So I just started calling you Terry Tears out of nowhere, or was you in my mention calling us cowards? What happened first?
It seemed to me that you called me Terry Tears first because it was in response to me being on your fucking Flat Earth Friday.
Are you sure, Terry? Do we got to go pull up the tweet?
We can go back, and if I'm wrong, you can correct me, and I'll say that I'm wrong. But at least for the time being, it sure seemed like you were the one that instigated the situation.
Really, Terry? You think that I'm on Twitter? You just said I haven't been on Twitter for the past 4 or 5 days, and you think that I'm seeking out you to go antagonize
This was a
you?
week ago, Sacred. This was a week ago, and to be fair, like, to some degree, I could have said, "Oh, this is why you were gone for a week, is because I showed him up," but I doubt that's what happened. But a week ago, we had this
What the
argument
fuck?
over you calling me emotional over this 30-second clip that you selectively edited. And then all of a sudden you go silent for a week. And here we are.
Now, I don't tweet that often. You can go check my timeline. But it was in response to you calling us cowards. You kind of like spiraling in the conversation in the mentions. Because if you go look at it, I quote tweeted you. And I don't know if you really remember, because I think this is where the disconnect is happening, right? Because I mean, I don't know what Terry be doing in his spare time. But there was a tweet that I had tweeted out a couple months ago or a couple weeks ago when they found out or when they discovered that the universe was no longer 13 billion light years or something old or whatever, like 13 billion years old. And they said that there's studies now that it's 26 billion years old. So I'm like, I'm over here looking at this like they just updated the statistics just in a day's worth of time. Like, this was the funniest thing to me because it's always, hey, you flirts don't have this, you flirts don't have that. So when I'm reading this, I'm like, oh, y'all just doubled the size, y'all just doubled the age of the universe. This is funny as hell.
Out of nowhere.
So then I'm looking at the article, and I said, hey, if I tweet this out, I bet you all the emotional globetars are gonna go over here and spiral out of control. Now, I always make this distinction because not every person that believes in a globe is a globetard, right? Just like Pryor was talking about earlier, there's a whole demographic of people who probably just don't even care, which is why I think that they really be trying to attack this conversation because that's the largest group. And we had some discussions back and forth about what's the largest group, globe earthers, flat earthers. But to be totally honest, I believe the largest group are the people that just look at the tweet and don't interact with it. Those are the people that are kind of like on the fence, don't really care if they see evidence one way or another. You could sway the whole consciousness. So that's why I think that there's like an assertive effort to attack flat earth or the flat earth or true earth rhetoric. Now, what's interesting about that though, is that, you know, when we put those tweets out and we're saying, hey guys, look at this weird stuff that's going on, we don't really expect, even though we know that that's what's going to happen, we on Twitter, to be attacked, to be sitting over there and bullied, to be, you know, people calling names and stuff like that, spiraling.
All right, Sacred, wait, I found it.
And that's exactly what happened. Oh, you found a tweet? Go ahead, put it up top for us.
All right, so I was replying to someone completely unrelated that was talking about that last Flurf space, and I said, quote, about you, and don't take this too hard or too personally. He's never open for debate because the second he starts losing the argument, he turns your mic off. He's too much of a coward to actually confront his failed model. End quote. And then,
hold on, that came before my tweet, or that came after my tweet?
I was responding to someone completely different, and then you found this tweet.
Okay, so you were talking to somebody else, and what you were telling somebody else was that I was a coward, and I'm not. I wasn't strong enough or whatever to face you in Flat Earth Fridays. So that was what started all of this.
Yeah, because you kicked my mic off the second you started losing an argument. Both times I was in your Flat Earth Friday.
Didn't we just address this part, David? Don't go backwards. We're taking steps forward. We established that you never got kicked, that Twitter kicks people. It happens. You apologized because you thought you got kicked. That's why the video was posted. So
well,
we never kicked you.
You can't just blame me getting kicked on the ethereal Twitter kicks people.
So
David, we literally
Dude, I'm tempted to kick him right now, boys. What's up?
Blaming of you kicking me if you would like. But you can't just say, "Oh, it definitely wasn't me." You know for sure that it wasn't us because Twitter just does this thing sometimes.
Bro, you think that we could?
It's perfectly reasonable for me to assume that you kicked me, especially since it happened twice.
It's not.
Both
we
times.
Brought you. What
just
time you only came?
Correlate with when you were losing the argument.
Bro, you only came up to Flat Earth Fridays for one episode. And there was another episode. As a matter of fact, I didn't even realize, Proud had to bring this to my attention, that you tagged me in a tweet that had nothing even to do with my space. It was a
Correct.
Bill and Ted's versus
I didn't
Conspiracy
tag you.
Smashers.
I didn't tag you. You
Bro,
just found my tweet.
What are you proud? Is this guy tweaking?
So wait a minute. So you are talking behind Sacred's back to somebody else, and when Sacred finds out that you're actually doing it, you're making a fuss out of it?
Exactly.
What?
No, I'm not making a fuss over talking about Sacred behind his back. I'm making a fuss over
You
him
just said that you
having a
did so.
problem with me talking about him behind his back, because
So when
his response was a 30-second clip of that last Flat Earth Friday saying, "Oh, is this you getting multiple mics? So emotional and dishonest.
I
Wipe
mean,
your
yeah,
tears,
David,
tough
because
guy."
if you sit there and say, hey, he muted me, he took my mic, he's a coward to
Which
face
is a
me,
perfectly reasonable assumption given the situation.
I'm glad that the science community acknowledges all the assumptions that you make, but that's not how you actually establish facts. So we're gonna tell you about facts. Facts
Sacred,
is
this would all
showing.
go away
Don't
right
interrupt
now.
that you don't want to talk about facts. Go ahead, I'll let you get your assumptions off. You told the whole space all the assumptions that you made in order to go ahead and start tweeting out your fallacies. And then when the flirts pull up some facts, well, hey, let's address this. You called me a coward. Isn't this you getting multiple mics that day? Hey, you said that we were afraid to talk to you. Isn't this you saying, oh, my apologies, I made a mistake. I must have been emotional. I'm going to take that down. So you want me to just allow you to spread falsehoods, which was completely unprovoked because I thought that we was cool.
I mean,
And then when I highlight all the book, then when I highlight your bullshit, then you get even more mad. Think about that, David. This is what's happening right now. You came in, you made an assumption, you were wrong, you played yourself. I highlighted that in 4K. You got mad about that again and played yourself. And here you are for a third time. And we still cool kicking it, and you still getting the story wrong.
It's
And you
definitely
want to
not
come up
that,
here and
Sacred.
talk about,
You just keep
and you
pulling
want to
this
come up here.
bullshit.
Hold on, bro. I'm gonna let you get. I'm gonna let you get your shit. I'm gonna let you get your shit off. Hold on, bro. See, if I mute you, then you're gonna cry. See, you have no mic etiquette. You have no mic etiquette at all. And if I mute you, then you're gonna start crying. You see what the position that they put us in? Either I gotta talk over them, and then Sacred's yelling at me. Oh, big bad Sacred. Or I mute them. Sacred mutes me. But just have a little bit of etiquette. We here all
when
night.
you ramble on and on and on,
It's
with
my
a bunch
space,
of
bro.
falsehoods.
You was trying to get up in here. So I can address your falsehoods. I know you don't like it. I know it makes you uncomfortable that we got the facts and you don't. But if you start the shit, you gotta the fact that you lied on the timeline, and we proved that in 4K. So you can't be mad. You can't be mad that you made a mistake and we highlighting that shit.
What
lie
did I tell?
Now you back over here again, and you still can't even just control yourself before I give you the mic.
What did I tell, Sacred?
The fact that you said that we were cowards, that we are afraid to address you, that we took your mic and kicked you from the space. You always get a mic when you come back.
Just because
you literally
that's how
apologize.
it appears
You
to me
literally
doesn't mean that I know
apologize
for a fact
for
that it's
your
not true.
behavior. You're talking
That's the
about
problem,
wanting to
David.
have a conversation about science while apologizing for your
Sacred.
behavior
Think
in
about-
4K,
think
and
about
you
this from
still
someone
over here
other than
getting
your
the
own
and you still over here getting the story
Alright.
wrong in
Sacred,
4K
think about this from
quality.
my shoes. Put yourself in my shoes, Sacred. Imagine that you get kicked twice from this flurf call right after you had just made a really good point that you did not have a response to, and it happens twice within the span of like, I don't know, it was like an hour or two
What were we talking about?
Before when I came back.
What were we talking about?
We're talking about when I was in your Flat Earth
What
Friday.
was the point that you were saying that I was running from?
I don't even remember. It was
So
like
now you still don't have no substantiated claims. You haven't brought not one factual evidence.
Just because I don't remember the exact
that's a problem. If you don't remember, stop running to the timeline crying. If you don't have no facts, if you could literally all you doing is making yourself look crazy. This is exactly what we be highlighting about the toxic and emotional glow birthers. All you did is jump to a conclusion, got mad, and it was all good. Then you played yourself. We showed you that you was mistaken, and then you got mad because we clapped back. And I told you, like, that shit said what? Episode 50 something on there. We could have been dropped that content on your head, bruh. We was trying to let you chill.
Why don't you tell me what argument we were having then?
Even if you
that?
prove
There
them,
was
even if
none.
you
That's what I'm
prove them
saying.
wrong, dude,
I'm not gonna talk over everybody. Yes, David, I muted the room. Everybody who has a mic right now is muted. Okay, listen. We only address this to help you understand that you did not get kicked. I am looking directly at the 2 videos that you posted in response of being kicked out the room. These were your examples of a time where you got muted and or kicked. The second example that you used, there's only 2. The second example is not this space. Okay, I don't want to spend too much time on this. We haven't even gotten to the topic. You wanted to talk about gravity. The second option is not our space. Why are we being held responsible for you getting removed out of a space that's not hosted by us? That's not fair. And a person
Because
that's
I
not
wasn't
being
recording the
emotional.
other one.
Just
recorded
tearful,
That's
Terrence. It happened to me as well. I'm going to speak out now about the butt hurt that I got, and I had to apologise to him too.
This is also
it
somebody
happens, bro. People be
that
getting dropped
made a
from the
mistake.
space.
Yeah, this is also somebody, your counterpart, who made a mistake and got kicked out and started spazzing, thinking we kicked them out for whatever reason. He believes in flat Earth. Why would we kick you, bro? Relax.
I got kicked. I think I got kicked, and I couldn't get back in. And I really wanted to get back in. I couldn't get back in for like about 4 weeks, and I was crying my eyes out.
I know you know for a fact, David, that when the host mutes everyone, it says everyone. Everyone on mic gets muted. It's not just you, it's not just one person. So that's another point that we just want to make sure you understand.
Yeah, I don't think he realized that. I think he think that when everyone gets muted, like when we trying to control like the for the listening experience, he think that he the one that's getting silenced as opposed to like everybody. Like he probably never hosted a space before, so he probably don't even realize that you can't indefinitely mute somebody, just one single person. Which is kind of cool, so you mute all the whole space and whatever the case is, but there is no just muting you and then you can never talk. I could mute you for a second, and that's supposed to be you as an adult to say, okay, the host muted me. Let me go ahead and give him the mic, and he gonna pass it back to me when it's ready for me to speak. That's how this Twitter space thing works. So we shouldn't have to mute you indefinitely, singly and everything like that. So we don't even have that function. So for you to be making those claims on the timeline, like, hey, you got muted and you couldn't speak and all this stuff, it's just completely fallacious. We don't even got the functionality to do so. So how many more times, bro, you gonna keep on doing this to yourself? You don't have to. It's funny though. They love the content. That shit got some views.
Well, of course, if
Terrence, I got butt hurt too. We were both in it together, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with admitting that I was wrong about you kicking me, but to suggest that it's wrong for me to assume that when I don't know those things that's a little bit weird. But I'll completely admit all that stuff. I'll give you that.
You have to.
Let's
I force you to.
Let's get past the cowardice point. You can make all of that go away here pretty quick if we just
I already did. You got a mic
debate
right now. You got a mic right now. So like we already got past it. We were just sitting up there highlighting it for you, so you can actually see all the bullshit that you cause on your own for no reason. So it's not like you doing us a favor, say, okay, I'll give you this, I'll give you that. You don't have a choice but to give. We took it from you. And that's what we do. So you got to realize, bro, like, yeah, we level heads. Yeah, we here to talk about science. But I told you in that same clip the first time that we talked, we don't gotta go like that, but it can go like that. We do not let nobody play with us. You want to quote tweet, you want to try to make an example, just know the level heads is gonna clap back. And it might hurt because we don't never start no issues. We are level heads. We are here to chill, talk about science, and figure out the truth. If you get emotional, you're only going to do it to yourself. You're only going to highlight all the bullshit that people don't want it to align with. And you're going to create more true earthers and flat earthers based off of your behavior when you're the one that wants to talk about the science. Can't you see how backwards that is and how counterproductive you're making it unnecessarily?
I bitched about not enough globers in there. and everyone was like bumming sacred, and that's why I think he got.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna let them do their thing. This is something that they were talking about earlier in the week. You know, this guy has some beef or something, and you know, apparently he was kind of like a friend of the show. They thought they had it sorted out. He was like a decent guy, and then started having some weird, you know, issues on Twitter, and you know, here we are. So like, I was trying to like give him a minute to sort it out. I didn't realize this guy was like, you know, I don't know, you know, unlucky. So let's see here. Let's pull up my notes on Bennett and watch a clip real quick.
When they
does not tell us whether
it changes to what I just described. So when we send what's the ether model of is wrong with it? Way to rotating Earth would rotate, which is affected by the motion.
All right, so we left off earlier on the clip with where he where he was talking about how the jet streams go in the wrong rotation versus the you know, prediction that would be with the globe model. If you know how they say that the atmosphere moves in lockstep with the Earth's rotation and all that. Well, turns out the jet streams go the opposite direction, and you know, so GG.
Of ether is not predicted correctly by this model, by the mainstream model. Another example of where the model of a spinning Earth has nothing to do with what we observe in the motion of the Earth's atmosphere. Let's take the jet streams. There are 4 of them, okay? They all go from west to east. And they oscillate up and down, which causes our weather patterns to change. But if the Earth were rotating from west to east, okay, you see the rising sun, so that must be the case, then what would you expect? That the air would trail along behind westward, just the opposite direction. Well, how do you explain all these currents of air? They're like rivers of air about, I don't know.
This is what he's describing
feet,
right here.
25,000 feet at the altitude of airplanes. They're flowing in the wrong direction according to the rotating Earth model. And there are 4 of them. Now, the same thing is true, even more so, on other planets. Jupiter rotates, so we would think that, just as I showed you for the Earth model, the equator has the greatest speed, and then at the poles it would be 0. What do we find? We find that there are 11 bands of alternating winds, some of them from 100 to 200 miles per hour observed. And this has no way of being explained by a rotating Jupiter, which is dragging the atmosphere of Jupiter along with it. This seems never to be pointed out.
Dude, never talked about. Think about that. They tell us that this is a gas giant rotating, you know, in one direction, and everything, you know, would be in lockstep with it. It in their model, it has different bands going in different directions at varying speeds. Like, what could possibly explain that in a way that would make sense? Let's check back in with the boys and see what they're up to. Oops, 1 second.
Of water, it obviously weighs a lot less than like a lake or a swimming pool of water, but it's still water and it's still the same density because the weight to volume ratio has stayed the same. you are correct that obviously the swimming pool is a lot bigger and it obviously weighs a lot more, but
dude, they had to go through all of that so that this guy could fucking talk. You know, like you think that guy could have just not been weird?
it is the same thing.
I don't think so. Because
No,
the
density is
theory would
like
be
a chemical like
you're
lead.
taking
Lead
this.
is fucking heavy, and copper is a bit lighter. Come on.
Yeah, I feel that, dude. Especially when someone's trying to call you out and put you on blast in public and shit. That's why I didn't like care too much, but it was like kind of dragging on. Like that guy's voice is a little raspy, and it's not my personal drama, so like I'm not invested in it. So but yeah, absolutely. Okay, so when is part two with Bennett happening? Let's see here. Witsit goes to Texas tomorrow for a debate, and then I assume he'll be back at some point around here. Bennett said he needed about a week to cool off and regroup, so we did that on, what was that, Wednesday? So the 8th would be a week out. Yeah, I'm gonna see if Witsit's good to go on like the 9th or 10th, maybe. It'll probably be around. What did we start last time? 2. It'll probably be at 1, maybe. We'll probably start early. That way we can get an extra hour in if needed. If needed, there'll absolutely be another hour needed, dude. So, but yeah, hopefully within the next 7 to 10 days, we get him back on, and then there's gonna be like additional stuff too, man. Like this guy's got so much information. He's so good with like having a back and forth with, and like yeah, it's just we're definitely gonna have him on for other stuff too. It's awesome. Yeah, I'll be in Dallas for modern day debates. It's they're doing a live event or whatever. I think he's debating geocentrism, or was it or it might be a spiritual debate. I can't remember, creationism maybe. I can't remember honestly. What's your thoughts on what he mentioned, the sun not being the same as the other stars? And what do you mean by GG? Oh, GG is an acronym for good game. So I grew up watching a lot of like Dota 2. So like it's a game, and when the other team like realizes it's a game that can be drug out for a long time, and especially if you're losing, you can just like drag it out to infinity and turtle up. And anyway, when you GG out, it's just a way of saying like we lost. Let's just move on to the next round. So it's just like a handshake and let's move on. So when I say GG, it's just like it's like what would you even say to recover from the argument? There's nothing more to say. Let's just move on, kind of thing. But it has like varying degrees to it. It's not always that too, because it's also a degree of respect to like whoever you're talking to. Like if you respect your opponent, you GG him, even if you smash him. So, and then so what was the first part of your question? Thoughts on the sun not being the same as all the oh yeah. Dude, so that blew me away. I'm gonna have to ask him about the specifics, because that was nuts. Um, if the sun spectrum doesn't match like the other stars, how can they say that the other stars are just larger helium, nuclear fusion or fission or whatever they call it, and all that, if it's not even producing a spectrum that matches what they say is happening on the sun to like equate the two? Like that would be crazy. That's what I'm assuming he's talking about. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna have to get the specifics on that, because that's hilarious if that's the case, right? If they're all completely different relative to the sun, and it's like, but they swear that they're all the same, just bigger. It's like, yeah, right, dude.
Mass of gas is different.
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, yeah.
The density of gold does not change based on whether or not you have a gram of gold or a pound of gold. The gold has the same density at.
Oh, is that what he's debating, Stephanie? Is it creationism versus Leo Philippus? Atheism? What the hell is that? I've never heard of that. Oh, nice. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was a flat Earth or if it was a creation one. Who's he debating? Oops. Why did it copy paste send? That's weird. Wait, why does it have emotes? That's so weird. Oh, I know what. Okay, I get it. Let's see. Debating cosmological argument. Oh, Leophilus is a person. Oh, bet. Okay. I thought this was a type of like a philosophy. Oh, it's this guy. Yeah, this guy. Oh, yeah, okay. Looking forward to this debate. Shout out to my boy JT. Shout out to my boy JT. Let's see. Yeah, man. Hopefully that's this dude kills me. It'll be funny to see him do his weird facial stuff in real life.
Same cup.
No, it's not.
I
That's
believe
kind of
that.
the whole point.
That's why he's so confused.
No, it's not. It's really not, because like volume and mass is the same thing. So it could be fucking wide, you know, but it's still going to be like tall, you know, or it could be fucking tall and you know and wide. It's like volume and mass is the same thing. It still fills the same cup.
So no,
Yeah, man. Leo annoys me too. I saw him in Witsit debate one time, and it was pretty like, you know, subpar. Like as Witsit was going through his presentation or whatever, or just saying anything in general, Leo would be like, "Oh no, hand wave dismissal," like doing these weird body movements and facial things, as if it was, as if he could refute the point with just like with a wink of an eye or something. It was nuts. You know, very animated. And then the responses too were, you know, obviously subpar, but yeah, weird dude. And yeah, Robert ladled some truth nuggets, dude. So many truth nuggets, bro. Can't do anything with Witsit on flat Earth, so they try to bring him out of his comfort zone. Yeah. Well, funny story, dude. His comfort zone is anything. It's hilarious. He's one of those people where it's like you're not trapped, or I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me, kind of situation. Yeah. Yeah, no worries. Have you ever seen people play chess at the park or whatever? Like they'll like, you know, when you know you've been beat, you just shake hands and GG, start the next round. So like that's what it is. It's just a nod to that. So yeah, I'm just kind of used to saying it. I play a lot of games and I, you know, type a lot of GGs and say it. So it's just part of my vernacular now. Let's see what the boys are
Water.
talking
So
about.
in theory, it's going to sink. So um, that's what I'm relating density to. It's not what NASA tells me. It's just fucking buoyancy.
Well, so how do you determine other than the obvious way by throwing a rock into a lake? But if you didn't have access to a rock or a lake, how would you prove that a rock is more dense than water? And if you did throw it in the water, it would sink.
If you don't have either of the two and you wouldn't know about the existence of either of the two, how would you know how to calculate it? What you just said make no sense.
No, I don't mean they don't exist. I mean you don't have access to them. Like like let's say
Yeah, that would be the most obvious, like, what the hell did you guys do to us situation ever if whatever spectrum thing that they're associating with the hydrogen fusion or whatever that they say that this is what causes the sun to be the sun, if that's not present in all the other stars, like what the fuck, man? That's so crazy. That's just like you know, it's the little details like that, man. Like that's how they get us, you know. And it's cool, you know. It's cool. But now we know.
It's a known property of any object that it has density. Every
Well,
object
if that's the
in the
case, he
universe has
doesn't have to
density.
calculate it, does it? Because he already knows. So again, you're going off of pre-assumptions again, while asking him to go off of something without pre-assuming. Then you go in your explanation and all you use is pre-assuming. I don't get it.
It's a hypothetical. I'm trying to help him understand what density is. Density is the ratio. It's not one or the other. It seems like you guys are confusing, like, oh, if you make an object really, really big, that means that the density is going up or something. Or I'm not really sure.
Talk like we all think that. It's one person that has a problem
I know.
understanding, and don't reflect it to all of us.
Yeah, that's well. I don't know his name, so that's why I'm using.
I don't have a problem. I'm just saying, a volume of one element is the same as density.
Oh yeah, that kind of stuff.
That is it.
The way
so
you're saying it is that mass and volume are the same, but it's not correct. But
yeah,
mass
it is.
and weight
mass,
are pretty much the same.
Mass and volume
Because
is the same.
if you calculate mass in volume and put it on a scale, it would.
Dude, I like that guy's voice, but his microphone, that crackle is like, oh man, that's a rough one to deal with.
Actually, it's two elements in it, because it's got air and it's got lead in it, but it's sort of expanded in some way. But if we put it into the same volume,
dude, plain reality. Did you get caught in a gravitational field and time? There was some time dilation. You got behind. You became out of sync due to Einsteinian effects. Yes or no?
The 1 into 1 by 1 inch, and we push all the oxygen and all the other materials out of it. What happens when you drop it in water?
so you're changing the chemical reaction of iron. So you're making pure iron versus
so it would be
iron.
more dense. It would be more
different
dense, and it would
chemical,
sink
so it's
faster.
different mass and volume. So mass and volume would always be the same if it was the same element. If you're adding something else and compressing it, you're either taking something away.
Just described relative density and negating gravity, and you didn't even realize it. It's funny how that works.
Hey, you know what's funny about this conversation? And maybe one of you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm of the belief that if we didn't have Earth, and I think we were talking about this the last time David was in the space. If we didn't have like the Earth to really reference, it would be really difficult to determine mass, because it seemed like it would be proportional to the actual gravitational wave, which means that, like, let's say if we were trying to determine our mass, right? Because remember, like, mass and weight can be calculated in grams and kilograms and shit like that, right? So if we were to try to determine this or make these type of calculations, like say, and obviously this is within a global framework, don't y'all, sit your pants, relax, right? And that's 1/6 of Earth's gravity. It would seem like you would get different values if we didn't have Earth to actually reference. What do you guys think about that?
Well, so clearly there's still a distinction that has to be made between what mass is and what weight is, because they aren't the same thing. Mass is like, think about mass as in like how much stuff is in the object, and then weight is what you just described. It's like what the gravitational attraction basically is. And that's why, like, when you get on your kitchen scale, it's calculating weight, but it is also using your mass to calculate that.
So you're saying mass times volume equals weight?
No, mass times volume equals density.
Okay. And it adds up to?
If I lose, like, let's say I lose weight and I lose density, if I lose density, then I lose weight.
Right. That's because
this is a headache. This is a fucking headache. This is like mass.
That's a great example, actually. That's
volume
a great example.
is exactly the fucking same.
Well, hold on.
This is why your girlfriend don't want to join Flat Earth Fridays, Chinny.
So that was a perfect example of you, like, when you go work out for a week and then you lose a bunch of weight. you know, you didn't
I
like
lose
increase
density.
or
I lose
decrease. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Well,
let David finish.
essentially, I'm losing density, not
Right.
weight. I'm losing the particles inside my body that would
Right,
make
but
up my
you,
density.
right, but the volume that makes up you is staying about the same, and so your weight goes down. So
And
that's
your mass
basically
equally.
a proof. Yeah, that's basically a proof of density. Is that
So
when
they're the same.
no,
If they
no,
both
they're
go down equally.
Oh, dude, Stephanie, you didn't see it? I'm told that I did really well. I think I did okay, but I could have been better on the cross exam. But it was all right. We agreed to exchange 3 questions, and I could tell he felt super confident with with just by the questions because they were highly technical and stuff. And like I knocked him out of the park, dude. It was great. I will say that. But on the my cross exam game was kind of weak. Like in the moment, I kind of forgot a lot of stuff that I was gonna bring up or like argue. And then, dude, he yielded his time at one point, and I was like, that threw me off guard because I didn't expect. He had 7 minutes left after his question, and then he was just like, "I yield my time. Let's move on." And I was like, "Okay, I'll take the concession." But yeah, I could have like hammered that a little bit. But yeah, my dude tapped out. That was pretty funny.
Acknowledgement and yeah, that's that part.
That circular interferometer.
So go ahead. I think we do got a hand up. Oh, we got is it witness? And we'll go ahead and rotate some of these other mics.
Yeah, what's up? Hey, thanks for letting me up, guys. I think I could help shine some light for Jimmy on this one. There's a huge difference between mass and volume. And that is, if you look at a balloon, right? If a balloon completely deflated, like a birthday party balloon, has the same mass as one that's completely filled up with air. The volume is different. The mass is the same. Same thing happens if you get a marshmallow. It has one density, one mass, right? Or one volume, one mass. If I put that same marshmallow in a microwave and I turn it on, you see it blowing up. It still has the same density, mass, but the volume has changed. It grows. Same thing happens with muscular like bodybuilders. Like, so Arnold Schwarzenegger, whether he was buff or not, has the same amount of muscle. Muscle actually does not grow in the human body. It volumizes.
No, he's missing
people that look really buff. That's just constantly volumizing a muscle, and that's why you deflate when you stop working out. So same thing happens. There's a huge difference between volume and mass. So I hope that, and then also when you look at density, think of like tin foil, like wrapping foil, like you have aluminum foil. If you take a large sheet out, right, and just leave it flat, that has the same density. But then if I can crumble it all up as tightly as I can and take a little ball as tight as possible, the density of that now changes. It still has the same of mass, but the density changes. So it just depends on the center of gravity, how compact things are in a given moment in space.
What you're doing though is you're taking one element out of it. So when you're heating something in a microwave, you're like expelling some kind of or you're introducing an element. So heat would give something, heat would gain the molecule.
What you're doing is trying to you think you're being rational, but you're
I'm
not.
not. I'm just like literally.
But your reasoning is incorrect. So you can make up all the science you want in your head. It doesn't change the fact that
I'm not. I'm like a gas engineer, right? So I actually know a little bit about it.
I absolutely don't believe you.
Hold on. You gotta let them finish, bro. If you're gonna respond to you.
Yeah, listen. So if you burn a gas, you take away, the oxygen element, and you get another element, which is like you get 2 parts O2. So you're getting water. So if you burn gas, you get 2 parts of something else. So you're making something else. So you're changing the density. So you're changing the chemical reaction. All right. So you're changing.
But now see what you just did is called what we call a red herring or a
strong.
No.
What you're doing though is you're crushing the tinfoil and you're squishing. You're squishing an element out of your tinfoil.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you believe.
No, it doesn't matter
whatever you
either.
want. But you can't.
Hold on, Chinny. Hold on. You guys can't just keep on talking over each other. And like I said, we about to rotate some mics if we got a few requests. But then if you're gonna let them respond to what you said, you gotta respect us and see, let you finish.
I will let them respond.
See, you introduced the idea of thermodynamics as something that was not in the equation. So just take the balloon. See, if you that's called a straw man or a red herring, what you just did. You added another element to an argument that completely to try to say it's the incorrect. It's my point was incorrect. Take something as simple as a water balloon. If you fill it up with water, or if you don't fill, or no, with air. If you fill it up with air, the water balloon has not changed. The volume has changed. So maybe it's better if you go back to the fundamentals and learn the basics instead of just making up stuff. Because when we live in a world and we just want to assume that we know everything, then we don't open ourselves up to learning. They say that knowing is the enemy of learning, and it seems like you know a lot.
Right? Can I just like snap back at this? Okay, you might hate me for this, but like it's literally it's my job. So like when you burn shit, you create another element. So if
Can
you
we
have
stop
a
talking about
gas,
burning chimney? I mean, come on, dude. This is like this is ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's
Moon
literally my
actually had his
job.
hand raised
Like
up about an hour
I
and a
do
half
it every
ago.
day.
I'd love to
I
hear what
don't kill
Moon came
people.
up here to talk about.
That's my job is not to kill people with fumes and shit like that. So
all right, Tony, all right, bro. All right. Look, we got to get to the hands and we're gonna rotate some mics.
All right, Lee, drop me out.
All right, request the mic back up for the next topic because we about to get into it. And tell your girl to request the mic too, bro. I know she a glow birther. We need all glow birthers pulling up. Chris,
is George Norrie joining us tonight?
Who is that?
Is George Norrie joining us tonight?
I don't know who that is. Who's George Norrie? Y'all know who that is?
You guys don't know George Norrie? Come on now.
Never
heard
of him.
Coast to Coast, like he started all this that we're talking about right now. Coast to Coast AM. Y'all aren't familiar?
Nope. Nah, I see some hundreds in the listeners.
And
he's like old school.
He's
not on Twitter.
time.
I mean, I'm sure he's on Twitter, but he's got like every night he's got a crazy ass show. It's like 4 hours, middle of the night. It's called Coast to Coast AM. It covers all this stuff. It's been going on for decades.
Never heard of him.
We have it playing in our
It's still a big world.
Send them the link.
Yeah, so look, if you guys want to tweet anything, since we don't got a purple pill, sorry y'all, they be hating. I put the space link all the way to the right up top in the jumbo. So you guys can go up there and just tweet anything that you normally would tweet in purple pill. Sorry, I know we asking for an extra step. Relax. All steps are flat anyway.
All right,
but
so
go ahead and throw us
us
y'all tweets. Go ahead and throw us y'all tweets right underneath that space link. It's all the way to the right. Its title is The Solar System Real? What evidence allows a sun-centered framework a more viable option than an Earth-centered system? Flat Earth Fridays, episode 73.
Are we Earth-centered or solar or sun-centered? What are we, Sacred?
All evidence, at least for first order measurement, seems to point to an Earth-centered system. Like
Created
literally, like everything.
Created by who?
Well, it's just all just natural observations. Like literally.
No, but who created Earth?
Who created Earth? I don't know. I don't know if there's a who. Something created Earth. There is a creation, but it ain't the Big Bang. I know that. Yeah, which is also funny. Like we still haven't, after, I thought about this the other day. After 73 weeks, we never did like a flat Earth religion space. Like strictly, okay, we only talk about religion. Because usually that should get all up in the weeds and stuff like that. But we never really
science
did that.
Nowadays is a religion. So
pretty
we talk
much
about it every day.
That's true. Now that I think about it, scientism head.
Well, science was created by God, right? So.
Well, there is a connection between science and spirituality, but it would require the acknowledgement of the immaterial world, which is probably the roadblock that we're suffering from. Because science has to quantify everything. I know we talk about that all the time. But it is interesting that a lot of those things kind of align with each other. But we won't get off into that right now. I did want to hear from Chris, because Chris had a hand up. What up, Chris? I know it's late over where you at. Good to see you.
I want to have talk about the volume and the density and the mass, because we have a atomic table And from every element in our world, they have determined the volume, the mass, and the density, and the weight, and everything. So it's not so hard to determine which is which. And that is a difference between them. So
Yep.
that's what I wanted to say. Because the amount of mass in a volume determines the density of the product. The atom has a certain density, and there's only a certain amount of that density that fits in a certain volume. So that's basically it.
That's exactly right, Chris. That is exactly right. Density is not determined by mass or volume or anything else. A single gold, 24 karat gold coin has the exact same density as a gold bar as all the gold in Fort Knox. The gold itself has a density. The volume and mass of the gold will change, and the weight of the gold will change depend on how much you add, how much gold you add and subtract. But the density of the gold itself is a constant.
Yep.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Moon, you got to say what you wanted to say? I was tweeting one.
I wanted to know about flat Earth.
Okay, yeah, we could definitely get into it. You know, we do got a topic, but go ahead, ask your question. I'm actually interested because they were saying for me to bring you up here. So
oh boy.
Oh wait, we got to go back to our origin. So let's just do this the right way, because if we're gonna do it, we got to do it right. So welcome to Flat Earth Fridays, episode 73. What shape of the Earth do you believe in, or what dimensions do you subscribe to?
Well, I do about 130 flights a year, and as I fly, I can see the curve. Explain that.
He can see the curve on an airplane. Okay, so is that your number one piece of evidence, your number one proof, your number one observation of why you believe you live on a sphere?
No, plus the thousands of scientists that have gone and explained this. But other than that, that's just personal. I can see the curve.
Okay, so hold on. So what happens, right, if I get those same scientists and they say that, hey, at that elevation, you mathematically speaking, you cannot see the curve of the Earth. Then what would you say to your assertion?
I would say, hey, I personally see it. Maybe it's my eyeballs popping out of my head, right? I don't know.
So now, okay, so, and you know, I would respect that if you stuck to your guns, but if you have someone that studied, has the credentials, the scientists that you just appealed to, and they saying, hey, based on our calculations, we cannot see the curve of the Earth from this elevation from any commercial flight. Now your observation, your claim is in direct contradiction with the science. How would you respond to that?
I would say, what about the astronauts from space that see a globe?
Now, is that you moving the goalposts to something else? Because we're strictly talking about
That's
airplanes.
part of the story.
Okay, the airplanes don't go to space.
No. I'm saying that this is a multi-dimensional conversation, right? So it's not just one guy looking up at the sun. It's not just one guy up in a hot air balloon. It's not just one guy flying an airplane. It's not just one guy going to space. It's all these stories, and they all kind of align.
Only if you look at it from a right.
Do you also believe in Spider-Man and Superman and Dora the Explorer? They're all stories.
No, I'm not a big fan of Marvel.
Damn, you don't like Marvel?
No, it's a waste of time.
Shout out to Iron Man. Come on, man. Cyborg got to get something.
Do you like Disney?
No, it's too woke.
No, it says Disney. Strange.
So just okay, but let's just zero in on this, right? Because you know, there's a contradiction. You do acknowledge that there is a contradiction with your claim, and if I present some evidence of a physicist saying that at this height, based on calculations, it's impossible to see the curve of the Earth. So let's just say, matter of fact, I'll probably just throw it up there for you right now. But so when I post this physics, okay, so thank you, Proud. I appreciate that. Gang. So if you go up there, you'll see that Proud tweeted this out back in February. It says Neil's hot take on calculations of detecting curvature, 53 plus or minus miles high. So 53 miles from the surface of the Earth. This is about the same height as I guess this guy named Kip sent up a personal rocket. And he's talking about space flights. And they keep on saying, hey, sacred when the space flights happen, just like how they said, 10, 20 years ago that we were supposed to be living on the moon by now. They said, when the space flights happen, sacred, it's going to be the end of Flat Earth Fridays. I know we can't take you out, but by golly, Virgin Galactic and that peanut-shaped spacecraft, it's going to be over for you, sacred. It's going to be done for you.
So you're saying we live in Mario world where you just run from one end to the other and back to the beginning?
Well, that would be more believable than the other nonsense.
Here in Ohio.
Really?
Hey, check it.
I mean,
You
it is
run
nonsense.
far
So
enough, you end back up where you began without some sort of circular experience.
No, you run around the globe and walk upside down.
right, that is way more ridiculous than just traveling in a circle and ending up in the same spot. Because all you're doing is calculating your relative position to the center of the map. But before we get into all of that,
So
right?
you think it's circular? It's flat, but you're running in a circle.
Well, I don't know exactly what the form of the Earth is, right? What we do know is that there is a circle around us. We do know that they put a circle around us at the 60th south degree parallel, which all the countries and all the nations agree that no one could freely and independently travel and explore past a certain point in the southern hemisphere. Kind of around the same place that magnetic declination starts to become way more of a thing the closer you get to the poles, but let's forget about that too.
This sounds like Lost all of a sudden.
Hey man, you gotta look into all these claims. You gotta look into both the arguments. See, when you guys do your research and you're going to look up some of these questions, look at both sides. See, that's the difference between those that are still globe earthers and those that are now globe skeptics and damn near flat earthers, right? It's like because we were the ones that weren't tarnished by the narrative, wasn't tarnished by propaganda, open to new information, and we looked at both sides of the argument and was able to make our own, take our own position based off of the information that you research on your own.
So
looking
you
at
don't
the
think that
details.
we have our own position?
Oh no, everything that you guys do is appealing to an authority and fallacious. Like as a matter of fact, every time that you spam me, all you did was appeal to NASA. Every single thing you spam the same content over and over and over and over, nothing but NASA content. So yeah, like you don't have your own stuff, and some of the things that you do have, it's not exclusive, and that's the problem. When it's not
your
exclusive,
stuff is the new stuff. Like yours is original.
Say it again.
Your stuff is the original stuff. Like that's the clarity of the.
I mean, you go back to ancient times, they were all flat earthers. So if you want to say original, then yeah, this is the origin of everything. The absolute frame of reference is the first order of measurement is always something that's fixed, stationary, non-moving,
People with
level.
little to no technology or understanding.
Say it again.
People with little to no technology or understanding.
How can you make that claim?
Mythological buildings, most intricate, perfectly symmetrical,
Pyramids.
something that we couldn't do now with the modern technology, but yet we're primitive.
Well, that's
You already
easily,
said that you
it's
believe
easily
all the
explained,
stories,
guys. It's the
but you're only selective in it when it's somebody that you want to believe his story. So
it's the salamander people, right? They created the world.
The who people?
The salamanders, right? Isn't that a big thing? The salamanders, the
nah, but stick to science and physics.
I heard about lizard
I don't know
people,
what
but
this
not
man talking about.
salamanders.
the lizard people. That's all the same.
Oh, there's definitely probably some
Do
type
you
of.
believe that over giants?
Oh, I of course I do not believe that at all.
There's literally 10,000 times more.
Dude, imagine
evidence
not
for
believing in
giants than there is for
giants at this
dinosaurs.
late in the game.
Yet,
Like for real. Imagine you're a giant denier. Like, like okay, maybe you're not a flat earther yet, but like you're a glober and you don't believe in giants, dude? Like what?
there are literally hundreds, if not thousands.
Do you have one? Do you want to post it up above?
Yeah, for real, man. This dude's just here taking up fucking space to assassinate time and destroy fruitful conversations. It's a real shame. But it's their space. They gotta, work. They The problem is like if they rush this guy and they're like, kick him out or whatever, he's gonna be like, oh, they're afraid of my fucking dumb arguments that don't make any sense. So like you got to let him run through the rigmarole. It's kind of the downfall of that, but you know, we'll power through it. We will make it through the night, boys.
Fossils for that purpose. Now you can't just
So
walk up to like a
exactly,
museum.
not independent, and that's the whole point.
No, they are
That's
independent.
literally the definition of science.
There are
Everybody should be able
there
to
are whole organizations that are dedicated to that. They are literally dedicated to
funds
just
them?
going out in the field and finding fossils just to do lab tests on.
Yeah, funded by the same person.
But hold
that
on. This is interesting because Dave, I remember you tweeted out that you don't even believe that bullshit. You don't believe that they could go ahead and do analysis on fossils and find like tissue.
Oh, I do. I believe that.
Now I was talking to David because he said he was going to push back, but I seen him tweet out about this. And you know why I seen you tweet out about this?
I post the opposite, Sacred. We find tissue in dinosaur fossils, and that's a major proof that like the mainstream dating methods are not that accurate. Is that we find like tissue samples, like actual pliable tissue samples in Triceratops horns, and it's like, holy cow, dude.
So I guess what I seen was that you're saying that these type of specimens could not be more than a few thousand years old, because the claim is things are what, millions or billions years old.
Yeah, that's at least the claim, is that there's not really a conceivable way that tissue like that could have survived for millions of years. I'm not saying that I know exactly how old it is, but it's definitely not that old.
So the same science, right, that you're saying that they have all these labs for, you don't even really believe in their methodology.
The methodology is the same, and that's why we were able to find tissue in dinosaur fossils, is because we did science. Like that is science.
You say we a lot, but science isn't we. Because if it was we would be doing it right now. And since we're not allowed to do it, you cannot use the word we.
Who's
You are allowed to do
Who's
it.
stopping you?
Yeah, there's nothing stopping you from going on those archaeological digs, and a lot of the times they even let you keep fossils and take them home with you as like a keepsake, and if you have your own lab equipment at home, you could do your own tests.
We can only trust your opinion on it, and I cannot give my opinion on it.
Yeah, that's actually true. See, once you start like interpreting the data that goes against the paradigm, that is when you run into issues. Matter of fact, hold on, let me pull this up real quick because I don't know. I'm gonna see if I can find that tweet. But I remember
you're looking for
sending
that, Joe. I'm very curious. Where's all the evidence of giants?
Yeah, that's what I was waiting on. It's like,
give me one example of a giant running around.
I mean, why would we even have all these mythological structures with doors 8 meters high, weighing 4 tons that need 8 people to open them?
Yeah, y'all don't follow Bill and Ted. Bill and Ted be dropping all that content on you guys. The big footprints, the wild steps, books that are giant. Like these ain't like human-sized structures. Like this is something for a large body. On top of that, what they normally do, from what I understand, is they take one bone and then they build a whole skeleton around it and be like, oh, like this bone got to be from this type of reptile, and we just gonna, like, they don't have the science to figure out the skin. They don't have the science to figure out really any of that other stuff. All of it is pretty much assumptions, and then most of the things that you see in museums ain't even the real fossils.
What do y'all believe in then? Like, it seems like there's nothing
that the Earth is flat. No, let me stop. That this is a geocentric stationary level topographical plane, and it seems to be a functioning system that had some intelligent design. That is the basis. Yeah, that's the basic argument, because it's everything that we can validate and verify, things that we can demonstrate ourselves, and it adds another dimension. It does add a piece of the immaterial world, because there's different components that you got to take into consideration when we're looking at a flat Earth framework. Because it's not about and we're not saying that the surface of the Earth is smooth. We're not saying that. We know that there's peaks and valleys.
You know, we know that there's different elevations, but what we're saying is it's devoid of the amount of curvature and especially where the curvature should actually be. So if it doesn't have the curvature where it should be and the amount that it should have, it's either two options. It's either that it's a way bigger sphere or a way bigger shape, and we just can't detect it, which would still throw off all the current science, or it's like literally just a level plane. So you either believe in it's a level plane or you believe in a globe Earth traveling through a level flat space, flat vacuum of space. It's like which one? And that's a problem too, because I was kind of looking into this a couple weeks ago. They got something called the flatness problem. This is kind of goes back to like what we're talking about with the current topic, geocentric versus heliocentric. They saying that the universe is like too flat. Like it got to be a particular amount of energy for it to be like that. It's like, bro, there's no way that this is. It's almost like how the globe Earth be saying, I know that the moon and the Earth, the moon and the sun kind of look like it's the same size, but that was just coincidental. It was an explosion, and now it just works out that way. It just happens to look like it's the same size, just by chance. And it's like, bro, that type of thing happens a lot in the globe Earth paradigm, where these things that are completely seem to be analogous that just happen to just spawn from just an explosion of randomness, and that's a problem.
Well, it's funny that
Especially
you
when you
mentioned that.
incorporate all the different components that make this a functioning system. Go ahead, David, and we'll slide over to Pete.
Well, I was just going to say, it's funny that you mentioned like the coincidences and stuff that seem to occur in like modern science. I would say that that's pretty good evidence of an intelligent designer, that there are just too many coincidences in this universe to not have an intelligent creator.
Hell yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But the problem is when you look at why those coincidences don't match up with the globe. So you could say, oh, this don't work out here, so it got to just be a creator that did it. But you got to look at, okay, what is the consequence of this not working out? This particular component. You know, what happens when now we're detecting a preferred direction in space? What happens when we're not finding the curvature where we're supposed to see it? You know, why are things always in some type of alignment? Like, why do these things happen? And then when we try to figure this out using certain frameworks, it don't work out, or they got to just completely correct whatever framework they're trying to impose to make it work, which that ain't scientific at all, because that's just a biased mindset. So
yeah, so I would be interested to hear like what problems you're talking about, because at least as far as I'm aware, there aren't like any major inconsistencies with the modern accepted model, and many of the problems that you might hear about in like the news and stuff like that about new science discoveries, or oh, is like you said, like does space time have a preferred direction? It's like we don't know, but we're gonna find out someday, because that's the nature of science. There's just stuff that we don't know yet. But
nah, bro,
again, I'd
we
be
know.
interested to
Don't
hear
make
about
it
the
facts
problems.
now if it's not find it out yet. And that is exactly what science is doing right now. Oh, let's just assume it's actually this. Maybe in the future, it could be 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Maybe we prove ourselves.
Dude, homeboy is so lost. He said maybe there's a preferred direction in space time. We don't know. Like, dude doesn't even know that that's not even a tenable option in their cosmology, dude. Like that's why, like, fuck, it's a lot to go over, you know. Like, where do you start with someone when their jumping off point is like -3?
Science. We have always had unknowns in science, but as science furthers, we find out more and more about our universe.
Yes,
And
I
so,
agree. But the problem is that the things that you just said, we now already are taking as facts. These
like what?
inconsistencies you're talking about, we are all taking as facts. We are literally.
Like gravity?
Exactly. It's a theory that is described as an effect. So supposedly we have gravity that is the cause of holding everything on a spinning ball. Yet the only thing we have for gravity is where it's explained as an effect, not as a cause of doing anything.
Hmm? I don't even know what you mean by cause and like and
Exactly, that's the problem.
Yeah, so they describe, and we can get into this. Like, I do kind of want to get into this, but they describe gravity as an effect of space-time curvature.
Correct,
like it's not
but
even
gravity itself is not just an effect. Gravity exists whether you like it or not. It's a
Oh,
scientific
here we
fact.
go.
Here
Hold
we go
on.
with the
Can I?
assumptions.
Well, hold on.
It's
Before you
not an
continue,
assumption. It's
It is.
provable.
excuse
You
me.
can prove it yourself.
Before you
Like,
continue
The
saying that
only way you
gravity
could prove
exists,
gravity is you would be able to manipulate it. This is what you need to have an actual scientific experiment. You need to manipulate your presumed cause. Well, if
Directly
your
manipulate.
presumed cause is gravity, then you have to manipulate it.
why? Why would you have to manipulate it to prove that it exists?
Because that's literally the definition of the scientific method.
No, it's
Damn.
not.
Rip.
Wait, not to manipulate the independent variable. That's not part of the scientific method to be
That's
able to
not
cause
what
it.
he's talking about. What he's asking is to manipulate something that you, in principle, have a really hard time of manipulating unless you can build a planet.
No,
It'll
the
be
point
hard to do it
is,
because it don't exist. I agree. But I mean, we can manipulate electrostatics. We can manipulate
It's not.
magnetism.
It doesn't. It does absolutely exist, and the proof is very
then
easy
prove
to
it.
show.
Manipulate
Okay, hold on.
gravity so you could prove that it exists. That's
Okay,
the
hold
only
on.
way you could prove it.
I'm gonna let David queue up his same debunk tweets because I know what he gonna throw up there. He's been tweeting out the same thing from 2013 that Flat Earth's already been done step on. But I'm letting him tweet that out and we'll put it up in the jumbo. We could talk about that. I do just quickly want to put a button on this conversation because y'all let Moon get away from this. Ain't no moon walking over here, Mr. Roving. You gotta tell us why you're okay with being in contradiction to the same science you subscribe to. So we got Neil deGrasse Tyson up here saying, hey, according to the math, that you cannot detect curvature at not even 56 miles from the surface in elevation. And you're saying that 6 or 7 miles you were able to detect curvature, 35, 40,000
yeah.
feet. So 40,000 feet, 5 or 6 miles, you were able to detect curvature, but the science says that is impossible.
That's
So
one
you
man's
are
opinion. That's
that's
one
not an
man's
opinion. That's not an opinion. See, I said mathematically. You remember me saying that to you? So if it's
I hear you. I hear you
mathematically,
saying that. I mean, I have to look at this research and dig into it, but I will tell you that you can see it. Have you been on a plane before?
of course, back when I was an organic
every
like you
3
guys,
months.
everybody, and I looked through them same curved windows you look through, and I probably thought it was a curved horizon too, until I realized that I might have been misinterpreting my observation. Then looking in the data and saying, "Oh snap! The science is saying we can't detect curvature at that height." So who am I to go against the science that I believe in?
Not to mention, since he's in a plane that often, not realizing that if he wants to actually follow the curve of the Earth, he needs to dive down with, I believe, 6,000 feet a minute, just to keep up with the curvature of the Earth. That's like being in a fucking roller coaster.
How do you explain what astronauts can see from space?
Hold on, we will get there, Moon. We will get there.
And let me guess.
Don't
You
change the subject.
You don't believe we landed on the moon either.
Don't
Yeah,
change
we're not gonna let you get off of it.
You don't believe the moon landing either, right, boys?
Hold on, we're not gonna let you get off of this. This is called moving the goalpost. So you made it. I want you
it's
to
all part
acknowledge
of the
this.
same story. I actually have family friends that their relatives landed on the moon. Okay, I'm not connected.
Yeah, my grandfather made the nut for the wheel. We all know the story.
No. Y'all don't know my background, where I came from.
He's got Moon in his name, y'all. Come on now, don't be playing with Mr. Moon
I'm
now.
just telling you guys. You're going down a dead end road on some of this stuff. That's all. That's why I came in here. New Sacred always hits me up on some of this bullshit. I'm like, I'm gonna come here and talk to these guys.
My bullshit detector just went extremely crazy when you said you got family that went to the moon.
I didn't say family. I said family, friends.
He said a friend of a friend of a friend. Come on, man. 666 degrees of separation. You heard him.
Yeah,
no.
believe
I'm talking about
somebody's story. Be selective in your story believing.
I don't even want to tell you guys where I grew up, but yeah, when you know, you know.
So what about you probably grew up in a moon crater, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's
With
funny
all the
that you say you
giants.
know, but in the past 30 minutes, you have heard so many things that you clearly have no idea what we're talking about, even though it's just basic physics and basic science.
But
And
it's
then you're
not.
saying
That's
when
the
you know,
thing.
you know. That's
Right,
Well, he
fine.
did
almost
say he
everything
coming
you
in here to
said
learn.
wasn't true though.
I am coming here to learn, and I want to learn about all these giants. You know, there's so many like facts and.
Well, which thing
What
do
do you
you
got
want to
for me,
talk about
Phasing?
first? Let's
Come on.
stay on that line.
I tagged you in a video. You don't see it? I put some up top.
Proud, talk about what you got up there before we get to Clint. Oh, I think Alan shared some stuff too. So, and then we'll see what Alan got to say with some of this conversation.
Sacred, what do you think Elon would say about the flat Earth?
He says everything that we agree with, that the globe Earth looks got to be real because it looks so fake. That when he posts pictures of them being in quote unquote low Earth orbit, that there's a dome. It's the closest that you'll be without a dome. Y'all know all the Elon flat Earth tweets.
He believes in a hollow Earth, hollow Donkey Kong Earth, actually. But hey, man, it's his
He
platform.
even tweeted out flatulence Earth. He telling
Like
y'all
we
about gas
slavishly
pressure.
round. Like, do you have to support something to promote it?
Do you have to
That works
support
for a
someone
company,
to promote it? What?
right? So he promotes space, he pushes space, he has a whole company for it, he works there, whatever. But like, I'm pretty sure there's plenty of people who work for a company that they really don't care for, or follow narratives just to get the paycheck. So I don't think it's astronomical to believe that he doesn't believe in the globe Earth. If you've ever seen some of his launches to where the rockets scrape what some would say the firmament, I feel like we only experience that from Elon. We don't experience that from NASA. So it's real interesting that the one that's supposed to be pushing the space has that effect.
He's running Operation Fishbowl 2.0.
Now, if he breaks it, he's still gonna be the top of the list because he broke the firmament. Wow, like so he doesn't really lose. But either way, I mean the giants are bones. They're bones. They're books. They're civilizations. It's like we know we're not that tall. We know we're not huge like that. We know the size of the average man, the average athlete. Like we experience that here and there. But to see back in the day, back in different times, that there were people larger than that, it should make you at least wonder, like, what were these things being built for? We talked about the pyramids. We know we couldn't build that. We today have trouble with the technology to build the pyramids, and how many people it would take and the strength of that equipment. So even the drawings on those structures depict larger beings and larger creatures. So I don't think like the idea of larger people is so astronomical.
I can agree to that, except for you guys, or at least facing reality, whatever his name is. He's taking it way too far. Did you see what he just put up there? He put the boot of Italy.
Can I just chime in about the Giants? Hey, Sacred. Yeah, like there's still photographic and film evidence of these beings, man, that walked amongst us, like back in Chicago in the day, when people dug up the bones of beings up to 20 feet tall and bigger. The Smithsonian used to come in and take those bones, and they deny doing that. But what they can't get rid of is the newspaper articles from back in the 1800s that write about the discovery of these giants and their skeletons. So if you want proof, mate, yeah, Chicago, go back to the New York Times back in the 1850s.
Why would they hide
You'll
that
find it.
20-foot
Like,
giants? Like, what would be the point?
what do you mean by like?
That's just rewriting history. I mean,
well, why would they, like, they're 20-foot
why
giants?
would they lie? Why would they lie? Why would they lie? You mean?
Yeah, why would they lie? Okay, so suppose some 20-foot giants came in to Chicagoland, like, hey guys, you guys got the Cubs going yet? No, not yet, not 100 years. Okay, well, anyway, when you guys come back, it doesn't make any sense. Like, why would they hide it?
So I'm gonna tie giants right.
Yo, This is crazy, dude. So, you know how I've been going, or I don't know if you guys know, but I'll just break it down. So, it was this part of Bennett's presentation when he was talking about 1 second. Where was it? I think it was this one. This right here. Dude. So, the mass cancels out. So when they're trying to say like, oh, this moon is orbiting Jupiter, right? So the way that they would do it is that they would replace the M with whatever they assume Jupiter's mass is, and they use the gravitational constant that they extrapolated that Earth has or whatever, right? And then they take the time, the periodicity of the event, and when you cancel it all out, you don't need the mass of the moon to describe the orbit. It'll just work out proportionally, right? So Robert pointed out like how that's purely kinematic. It's not a real equation in the way that it's described, like where they say like it's a mass attracting mass situation. So then check this out. This is how they got the mass of the sun. So because the gravitation, they did the same thing for the sun. They just reverse engineered the sun, which they then use for everything. This is so crazy. Watch this. Because the gravitational attraction of our sun for the Earth is a centripetal force causing the Earth's circular motion around the sun, we can use Newton's law of gravitation to find the mass of the sun without visiting the sun. So they literally reverse engineered it off of. Well, yeah, I'll just read. I'll just watch what they do. So this is the same technique that you would do to determine the mass of Cygnus X1 with a probe. The Earth orbiting the sun plays the same role as the probe sent to orbit Cygnus X1. So F gravity equals F centripetal. From this, it follows the following form, and then you got your G, your mass of the, what would that be? The mass of the sun, mass of the Earth, or whatever, and then it just cancels it out. So this would be the radius. So this is the periodicity of the event. So the way it cancels out, this equation could be rearranged to solve for the mass of the sun by canceling the mass of the Earth from both sides and the orbital radius of Earth, which just leaves the mass of the sun is the velocity squared times the radius of the orbit over the gravitational constant. So the gravitational constant, which they extrapolated from Cavendish, right? The Cavendish experiment that gives inconsistent results and all that stuff. And yeah. So let's see. In this equation, G is we know G to be a constant. However, we need to know how far it is from the sun to see how far it's moving. So they take the assumed distance and they just reverse engineer it. And once they have the sun, they can do their whole solar system, Berry Center, all that shit based off of it's literally kinematic. It's not real at all. The only reason they think it's real, obviously, is because of Cavendish, and they think that experiment and the subsequent ones that are done that have measurements that are outside of the margin of error and et cetera, are proof of the gravitational constant. But this is where it all comes from, right here. It all cancels out and scales proportionally with the constants and the periodicity of the event. This is how they did it. Interesting.
Newspaper articles about these bones being found, fucking the Smithsonian coming in and taking them. Like they can't get rid of the newspaper articles. They can deny that ever happened, which is what they're doing. But I think they're actually starting to admit that these creatures once and still probably do exist, man. Like it's fucking going on. Fine. There's a YouTube channel actually, Everything Inside Me, bro. He's got a lot of footage, man. Like video footage, fucking photographic footage, and goes right into the giants. And like even
yeah, man, the moon of Jupiter was used in the speed of light with your boy Romer, I think it was. Absolutely. Yeah, the Jupiter moon comes to my mind for the example is because I had a conversation with Icon Science that and Professor Parks like a year or two ago now. And it was literally the same thing because it was like, how do you know these equations are true? And he was like, well, when I use Newton's equations when I plug it in, the mass of Jupiter and the mass of the moon, I get the orbit or whatever. Like it reduces back to Kepler's shit. And it was like, okay, cool. Like I don't know how to defeat that argument, but like I know it's BS. But like so I just like let it go or whatever. But like this is it. This is how they did it. It just literally cancels out. It doesn't matter. It's kinematic. It scales proportionally to the period of the event based off of the other constants. Once they have their Cavendish story to establish that mass, they're good to go. And then they have the porosity of the event, which just scales to whatever event they're trying to describe, right? So it'll always match. It doesn't the mass doesn't actually matter at all. It's just an illusion.
Spoke of and drew the flat earth. Every cartographer from all over our known continents drew the flat earth with an ice wall, actually two ice walls. They drew our continents accurately, and they all drew the same continents beyond the ice wall. They named them the same, and the world that we know of, they call it Atlas. So what have we grown up studying? Is a fucking atlas. So and then all of a sudden the Rockefellers and JP Morgan sweep into the fucking power, and then all of a sudden we're on a globe. Why would they do that? Like if they tell people there's an ice wall and there's nothing beyond it because they don't want us to look at what's actually beyond and the technology's been hidden from us, then they'll tell us we're on a globe, and if we go east or west, we'll just keep coming back around upon ourselves. So, but if they tell us the truth and say there's an ice wall and there's nothing past it, everyone will want to see what nothing is, won't they? So I don't know, mate. Like you've got to ask these people why they're doing this and saying this, but I can't find evidence of curvature. No one can, man. Like people aren't fucking like. There's not a single map pre the 1900s that shows we're on a fucking globe. They all say the same thing, and you can't tell me for thousands of years that like countries came together to go, hey man, let's just fucking draw this. Let's pretend, man, that there's ice walls and continents, and we'll just fool the world. I know there's someone's telling me lies, man, and I don't think for thousands of years that they decided to lie to everyone, that someone's lying, and it's not them, I don't think. So, man, you go like, why are the stars a constant in my sky? If we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour to make a day while we're orbiting the sun at 66,000 miles an hour, why was Polaris, the northern star, always in the same spot? That doesn't make fucking sense. You know what I mean? You got to look at everything that's around you and think, hang on, man, fucking something's not adding up here.
Hey, I need to run all back
But they
here.
believe that it's already 600 years
if I
old.
could interject here real quick, you had mentioned earlier the picture of the giant boot next to the boots. If you open up that photograph that's in the nest, it's actually showing the size of that giant book. It's not the fact that it's showing Italy as a boot next to some giant boots. That's just a coincidence. But the image itself, again, is just showing a giant book. And those are all over the place. So just wanted to call that back real quick.
How
So if
come
you just Google the question of like when did people start to think the Earth was round, goes back to like the 300 to 500 BC. Is that right? 3rd century BC. So way before what you just mentioned.
No. The schooling system started
go
in the
Google
1920s
it.
with the heliocentric model.
No,
Prior
no,
to
no,
the
no, no.
1920s, it was still taught as flat Earth.
No, not true.
Hey,
We're going back to the earlier discussions where there was like the volume and this, that, other thing. Like, no, it's just not true.
What's the site? What's the first site that pops up that you clicked?
You're not sure, Dave? I tapped out. I wasn't listening to that part. I was like, I started thinking about this gravitational constant thing and the sun and how they got the mass of the sun. And I was like, I'll bet you they just reverse engineered it the same way. And they did, and they tell you they do. But like people don't realize the significance of that canceling out just makes it completely irrelevant. It doesn't matter as long as it scales to this. And if people believe in this, the G, then like they're good to go. It's nuts. Your belief, dude, how ironic, how crazy is this, right? So like if you're like not scientific and you're more spiritual or whatever and you believe in God, you get made fun of for believing in the capital G God, right? But if you're like an atheist and you're into science, if you believe in the capital letter G as a constant for the equations used by Newton to describe planetary motion, which are covariant with Kepler's way to describe it, which is purely kinematical as well, then you're really smart. It's just a different G, but like it's the same G, Crazy.
Not getting what it was you weren't understanding about the whole fucking 1 cubic fucking inch as opposed to 2 cubic
I got
inches.
it loud and clear
Yeah.
that the discussion was a little insane.
Hey, Clint, do you remember if the Kandahar giant, I remember he was red-headed, but did he also have 6 fingers and 6 toes?
I think it was 7.
I'm pretty sure it was 6.
Yeah, it was 6.
Yeah, so why? Why the lie? Because every time we discover something crazy, it just goes and proves the Bible again. Like, wasn't Goliath from a 6-fingered tribe? They had 24 digits, just like that red-headed giant. Goliath, the one that David slew. Everybody knows the story of David and Goliath. Can you imagine if they found 6-fingered giants? And it's like, dude, everything the Bible says is true.
Yeah. I mean, you cannot draw something that you haven't seen before.
Yeah,
So
can
the
you
fact
hear
that
me?
they all drew these things on murals and all the
Because you got to
technology
keep
that we
your
use
mic close.
nowadays are already described in murals that supposedly are thousands of years old. I mean, you will not draw a helicopter or a bicycle or any of those things if you haven't seen them before. But apparently they were capable of drawing it on murals, even though it wasn't invented for the next 2,000 years. But yeah.
Do you think the guy that drew Spider-Man had seen Spider-Man before?
And that is something that you need to think of. How come?
It's almost like gravity equals I can't see because that stupid fucking heart sign won't go away. Gravity, grav deity, dead god, grave deity. Dude, you're crazy, Dave. Hey, how about this though? I did see something that was fucking hilarious, bro. Where was it? It was a nice little 33. Oh yeah, right here. Check this out. Nice little 33 to the dome. So this is in regards to the Berry Center and how they say that they have a new special super technique to measure the Berry Center without actually having something in orbit at the Berry Center to send data to relay its coordinate system within the space-time coordinate system. But anyway, so check this out. So this is this new super accurate way to pinpoint the solar system center may help us spot monster black hole crashes, whatever the fuck that means, right? So check this out. Astronomers have found a new way to pinpoint our solar center of mass to within 330 feet or 100 meters, a recent study reports. Nice little 33 to the dome. What do you think, Dave?
Right now is Wag the Dog. We've actually got that pin, or not pin, but it's one of the more recent posts on our page. If you haven't watched that in the past, 15 years, maybe go back, set aside, and watch that movie with your wife and 3 kids. Moon, there's a lot going on right now that it'll open your eyes to a lot of stuff.
Well, there's a lot of wagging going on in politics. I agree.
Okay. Cool.
There's also Capricorn 1.
All the artists that predict everything that we are experiencing the past 40 years in their lyrics, but nobody's listening. They are literally screaming it from the rooftops, trying to warn us, but everybody's just completely docile, zombie-like, just listening to the melody, singing along, not even realizing what they are singing, even though they are literally trying to tell you you're being fooled, but nobody wants to listen.
Thank you for letting me be on mic. What you're doing is awesome. Thank you for hosting. I feel like there's some people that need to look back into indoctrination. They're having a really hard time being open-minded. It derails the conversation in here.
We don't mind the pushback. We don't mind the open views and conversation derailment.
Yeah, I get that. Just I don't think people realize how indoctrinated they actually are. I mean, that really is the thing. The system was designed to teach you what you need to know, not what you need to find out on your own.
Yeah, school doesn't teach you how to think. It teaches you to regurgitate what they tell you. And then at the end of the day, you get a sticker on your paper, and then you can go home and be all proud to your mom and dad that you got a sticker by
So
complying.
does that mean that
So you
Globers
got a
are
sticker for
inherently less
complying, not
successful
learning.
than Flat Earthers?
Didn't hear you. Come again?
Does that mean that Globe Earthers are inherently less successful than Flat Earthers?
I have no idea, man.
I mean, well, if
I'm
you're saying
retired
that we're
since
if
3
you're saying
years, so
they're
maybe.
indoctrinated to just be bots, then a bot is never
So
going to be as successful as a free thinker, correct?
So not flat versus globe, but there are successful people who dropped out of school, dropped out of college, did not complete the standard curriculum assignment, and they went on to be successful. So it's not
Like,
necessarily globe versus flat, but just the dynamic of sitting in that structured environment and learning that way and advancing based on.
Me too, man. I think they pay these people, not the people that are hosting this, but I think like there's an agency out there that pays people to just come in here and just do that.
So
it's
what does
also
that
true.
what does that
Yeah,
tell you?
But there's also genuine people that are just lost in the sauce. It's hard to say.
exactly. I mean, we're living on a
They're
perfect
studying the more
timepiece.
esoteric. They're studying, you know, the world is a clock. It's a giant clock. And they're timing their decisions based on what this clock is expected to do. And it's consistent. It happens over and over in cycles. So
Yes.
can't argue with the clock.
Nope.
So then
But
that
we
would
could have
promote the idea more of a simulation theory than anything else. If everything is cyclical, everything seems to be designed by intelligent design. Everything seems to be supporting both theories because the same math that supports flat Earth is the same math that supports globe Earth. And if we're having examples such as a double slit experiment that shows observing it affects the outcome, to me that sounds exactly like a video game being rendered. Only what's in front of you is being rendered, and the moment you turn away, the computer no longer needs to render that.
Yeah,
So
get
a
a better view.
better question would be: are we just living in a simulation?
I mean, how could you state that it's something different when you observe it? How would you know that it's something different when you're not observing it? How can you know that something is different when
They
not
have done the
observing?
test. So it's not up to debate. It's factual information. This
Wait,
is
who's
something
they?
anyone could research. It's
Just
called the
real,
double slit experiment.
just real
Yeah,
quick,
but
who's
within the
they?
double slit experiment, they do a single photon through a split. Well, the photon is supposedly the smallest thing we have. How did we create the
Let me stop
slit
you right
for the
there. Let me stop you
smallest
right
thing?
there. I don't want you to be factually incorrect. They're firing electrons, but continue.
Well, the same thing then. It's supposedly the smallest thing.
No, my friend. There are electrons and photons are completely different.
If you believe in a photon, then yes.
Well, you're also believing. Okay, so belief impacts the outcome. So to me, that kind of sounds like the observer impacts the outcome. So it goes
Yeah, but
back
how
to
could you,
my
how
theory
could you
of the
know
video
there's a
game
different
render.
outcome if you can't look at the different
Because
outcome?
the
That makes no
experiment
sense.
has shown different results based on being observed and not being observed.
That's
It's
not
very
true.
simple.
That's not true. That's your interpretation of what's happening.
I will post the results if you want.
Yeah, but what you're saying is I can't think of any other way for this observation to occur, so I'm clinging to this interpretation instead of approaching it like, "Hey guys,
Absolutely
do
not.
you?"
Absolutely not.
So,
Absolutely not. See,
so
that's
you
the
just
that's the
interrupted.
problem.
You
That's the
just
problem we're
why did
having
you
right
why
now.
did
Is
you interrupt? Why did you feel the need to interrupt me in explaining the
if
different
you're
ways?
factually incorrect,
Why
I'm
are
going
you
to
interrupting, Ralph?
explain to you.
Done, and
Ralph,
then
why are you interrupting in the middle of my sentence when I'm explaining the two different ways that you can approach the conversation? Just acknowledge that you couldn't even say, let me hear what Sacred got to say as the host who let me up here to speak. Let me not interrupt him. He said that he got something else that he want to add to the conversation. Let me hear him out so we can find some common ground. Why are you not approaching a conversation like that?
let's just let each other finish our statements so that we can have a cohesive conversation, because there's a lot to unpack here. So it'd be great if we could, just kind of hone it in and reel it back in a little bit, guys.
So go ahead, Ralph, post what you want to post and we'll go ahead and break it down. But you should not come in here like being so arrogant, thinking like, hey, this got to be the only way to look at this. They're going to tell you their interpretation. You should be saying, hey, is there any other interpretation of this observation that I'm finna post up here for y'all to look at? Can anybody else explain this in a different manner? That's how you should be approaching this conversation, not, oh, the people who's lying to us, all the government entities and everything like that, they saying it's this way, so it got to be that way. Head ass.
Hey, real quick too, you guys got to remember that the first step of the scientific method is acquire funding. So just you got to
What?
remember who's funding it, and then that's oftentimes going to dictate the results as well. So that is part of the scientific method. Just it's kind of like unwritten though.
Global
That's
warming.
Okay.
Global
that's
warming,
true.
good
I
example
thought,
of
well,
that.
God damn
I did
it, am
not.
I missing
I did.
something?
I did not just make that up. That's
Okay.
factual.
Sacred, that's right. We do agree upon that. And that's one of the big issues I have with global warming.
Well, let's not change the subject yet, but we can
Oh,
always
I'm not. I'm just
global
saying,
warming,
to your
because
point,
that's
funding.
it's
Funding,
not
that's all.
global. It's again, it's cyclical warming.
It's based on funding, though, to your point.
Hey, go ahead, Sheepdog. I'm tweeting out some of these quotes so we can go over some of these physicists' perspective. We can break down some of that conversation. Sheepdog, what up, bro?
What up, brother? How you doing? Anyway,
Best day of our lives, Sheepdog.
so I gotta ask this question, right? Like you always hear the question, why would they lie, right? And then you mentioned that they've known that the Earth is a ball since Eratosthenes, correct, Moon?
Say it again.
They've known the Earth is a ball since the 3rd century BC, Eratosthenes.
Just by a quick search, yeah.
Right, and if you look at that quick search, like there's a lot of web pages that say Eratosthenes, 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 right?
I'm on a space, so I've not dug into it, but sure.
Okay. Well, what if I told you another story about Eratosthenes? That story that you were told about Eratosthenes in the 3rd century, and he took some sticks and measured the shadows during a certain time of the day, a certain day of the year, and he proved the Earth was a ball. But that story, the only evidence that story exists was actually written in the 13th century.
That I don't know, but the quick search I did see there were a couple different time frames, like 3000 BC or 300 BC, 200 BC. I think a couple different civilizations uncovered it.
Right. So, like I'm telling you, like there's no evidence from Eratosthenes himself saying that he did this observation. it's a story from somebody else. His name is Strabo. He was the earliest account.
You're good, Travis. No worries, dog. You know, you guys just gotta. It'll pick up. I'm just chilling.
Shadows. Nowhere ever in history does it ever say Eratosthenes wrote Eratosthenes did sticks and shadows. Right. So
Not
right there, you're
mention.
already.
I'm not in the position to challenge you. If we had a couple of professors in here that have dug into this, it'd be a better conversation. So I can't really comment on if what you're saying is true or not. That's all.
So what I'm saying though in this is that they're lying to you about that, right?
I can't even entertain your argument.
Then so you
I don't know. It's just you're sharing a comment. Yes.
Okay. Well,
Don't
I mean,
forget
like
that they
if they're
also needed to pre-assume the distance of the sun to make it even work.
well, they pre-assumed it to be infinity, so that was the weird part about it. But I'm telling you right now that they lied to you about that. They literally 1400 years after the fact is the first evidence of that story existing about Eratosthenes. Like Eratosthenes never even wrote about it. Eratosthenes wrote a book called Katasterisme, and it's a basically it was a story on how the constellations were made. That was the only writing by Eratosthenes ever. And he was supposed to be like a librarian, mathematician, geographer, like this huge, widely knowledgeable person.
I mean, let's be honest, right? The documents from 500 years and before, few and far between, right? So who knows?
I don't know. What if they do exist and they're just hiding them from you?
There's a lot of documents. Sheep's on point. I'm sorry to interrupt. Just
no.
How can you be so uncertain and say who knows, but try to say that this guy proved Earth was round?
You have to do the searching.
I didn't say he proved it. I said I just did a quick Google search.
Right.
Definitely go look.
Trust what that Google has partnered with the World Economic Forum and
well, I'm not a Google fan by any means. I'm on a space. I just quickly looked it up. That's all.
Well, World Economic Forum has been on record saying that we own the science, and so we partnered with Google to put our searches at the top of the search engine.
I wouldn't doubt that. There's a lot of pay to play in this world.
Don't doubt it because it's a fact. It's true. They've said it. It's on record.
I got the video.
All I hear again is, let me look it up. Let me do a quick search. Let me look it up. But by all means, don't think for myself. But I will look it up.
I'm in sales, and I go into people's homes. And when I get to the end of my presentation, when they tell me that they need to think about it, that means that I either didn't do a good job explaining it, or they're not ready to do this yet. Which is it for you, Moon?
Well, he's still new to it too. It probably would take him a little while looking into it. Let me
yeah, I'm a guy that wants to do my own due diligence.
Let me explain to you.
It's crazy because there's just so much.
Can you hear me?
There's so much noise, white noise. I hear you, Sheep.
All right.
So I'm just saying there's so many different opinions now. It's just like hard to even cut through the.
Let me listen for a minute. All right, give me 60 seconds. So I didn't start looking into flat Earth until 2020, right? The end of 2020. So the algorithms are already against me in the search engine. So when someone introduced me to flat Earth and I actually looked into it objectively, when I tried to look into it, I couldn't find anything on it. If it's such an archaic idea, surely there's got to be an honest explanation of why they thought that way to begin with, instead of all these ad hominem responses and how stupid it is and how they just didn't know and blah, 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 blah. So I'm looking into it and I cannot find any honest observations of why people think the Earth is flat. That was my first red flag looking into flat Earth. It's like, why are they censoring this? You can't say it's not popular. I mean, you go to TikTok and it's the most searched thing on TikTok.
It's
That's
the
TikTok,
fastest
bro. That
growing
doesn't tell me much. But
community since I believe 2014.
2014, 2015. I mean, it exploded from 2015 to 2017. Then there was an algorithm change, and then from the lockdowns, basically the lockdowns, when they locked everybody down because of COVID, people got bored and they started looking into shit because they were looking for entertainment. And one of the things that everybody keeps coming across is flat Earth, because I mean, what better way to pass time when you don't have anything to do than to sit there and make fun of flat earthers? So they start joining these groups, and then they start listening to the arguments like, damn, these motherfuckers are actually making a lot of sense. They actually adhere to the scientific method. Like, and then when you start investigating what the globe is going on, you find out that really it's a bunch of mathematics that's like uh you can't prove it in actuality. Like it looks good on paper, but there's no real life proof.
I will say, and I'm sure I'll be dumped on for this, but I will say that most conspiracy theories make a lot of sense. Like, wow.
Oh, for sure.
There's like, I don't care what it is. It's like, oh my God, these people.
Well, the truth is stranger than fiction.
And then I don't care what the topic is. It's like, there's.
I don't know, bro. I'm kind of bored. I'm about to dip.
Let Moon finish. You interrupted him in the middle of him talking.
But what is
Oh, sorry, I have lag sometimes. My bad.
So going back to like the flat Earth thing, what is the benefit to the world if it's flat versus round?
Peace of mind, knowing your creator, having love within your community.
Well, no, you wouldn't know the creator by any means. You wouldn't know the creator by any means as flat or circle, but so round or flat, what are we going to get out of this? Like, what are we trying to accomplish?
Instead of being controlled by
reality itself would change,
by
physics
powers that
would
be.
change, everything would change.
Well, if
hold on. Let me just clarify. Let me just clarify, Moon, because I said this earlier. I don't know if you heard this, but the dimensions of the Earth is just one part of the conversation, right? So it's not necessarily about flat or round. It's about the entire construct that operates within that paradigm. So if it's a globe Earth, you got a framework for it. If it's a flat Earth, it's a completely different framework. It opens up a whole slew of possibilities that science hasn't even acknowledged. One being that now we can accept the ether, which is a framework for all of the forces that we observe in our reality. And probably some type of a free energy harnessing system, especially if we actually understand the balance that we experience within this construct. So there's a lot of parts that what science tries to do, they're trying to put everything together, but it's all compartmentalized instead of looking at it as one complete system. And if it is one complete system, that means that it points to intelligent design. And a lot of the science and physics that play into it, all that changes, like literally.
Hey, Moon, you're a proponent for grounding, right? Like you go walk around barefoot in the grass, don't you? Go touch grass, right?
I use my head usually. Yeah, I'm outward bound guy. Yeah, I like to go do exploring, climb mountains, go fishing.
Don't forget to sunbathe your balls.
I meant like barefoot, like walking in the grass. You're a proponent for grounding. You understand what that is. You know about that, right?
Just not wearing shoes and experiencing the earth on your feet.
And the feeling of elation afterwards. When you've done it for 10, 15 minutes, you put your shoes back on and you just feel good.
All right. Yo, thanks for coming out to the stream. I'm going to head off for the night. You guys have a good night. There'll be some follow-ups here, so keep an eye out for that.